Is that legal?
I will make it legal.
Where do you get this bureaucratic bull?
You have all the character references of a politician.
Intelligence has nothing to do with politics.
This president is not above the law.
If the dirty air don't get you, the politicians will.
The last remnants of the old republic have been swept away.
These orders have forced us to declare independence.
Welcome to Grounds of Expediency Live. I am Tim, and I am the culture war realist. I'm a rational individualist. I'm the no-compromise anti-communist. I'm the hierarchy dominator. I cite history with validity. I've got the hot takes for the bot fakes, and most importantly, I'm never a victim. And once again, this is the trailblazing, trend-setting channel talking about what matters most in the past, present, and the future. Welcome, everyone. It's been several months since we've done a Grounds of Expediency Live, and quite frankly, I'm sick and tired of hearing about She-Hulk and Rings of Power. So we decided to talk about something that's real, something that actually matters, something that is really going to affect your life. Not to patronize anyone else. You do you, and we'll do us. So that's what we're doing tonight. This channel is much smaller than OAP, obviously, and we have a separate channel because we talk about stuff that could get us taken down. So please share this out there on all platforms, and let's get this thing going. In the past, we've had a pretty decent crowd before. Replays have been pretty good, but let's share this thing out there, guys. Anywhere you can, let's get some people in here. I do have a guest tonight and a potential second guest, so stick around for that. We're going to have lots of fun. We're going to talk about stuff, several topics. You saw what we just saw in the opening clip. We're going to talk about that and how important it is. I was actually in that location less than a month ago, which is pretty interesting. And we're also later on in the stream going to look at the hot conservative chick of the night. So definitely stick around for that. But yeah, that right there is what you call somebody fucking around and finding out. I was actually in Fort Walton Beach 1 month ago. That's where I landed when I went on a business trip to Florida. And I didn't get the sense that that type of activity took place there in that town, city, whatever you want to call it. But I guess it can happen anywhere. I guess thugs exist anywhere, exist everywhere. So it was pretty interesting that somebody tried a carjacking in a ChickFilA parking lot in broad daylight. I checked a news story on this. We're going to look at it later to make sure it was all real, because I just found it really interesting that that happened. And I wanted to make sure it wasn't some kind of setup. You know, how you see stuff out there on social media and then people start sharing it. And then, oh no, you know, you got duped because that really didn't happen. No, it was a real thing. CBS News reported on it. So it was real. We're going to talk about it. I want to get some guests' thoughts on it. But honestly, that's what happens when you try to strong arm someone and someone willing to fight back is around, you fuck around and you find out. All I'm going to say is, in the state of Florida, he's lucky nobody was armed around there. Right or wrong, he could have been blasted. And quite frankly, within my own personal code of ethics, it would have been a justified kill had he died, had someone shot him, because he was attacking a pregnant woman. It's unreal. Let's see who we've got going on tonight. And once again, guys, please share that out there. This channel is much smaller. We haven't really tried to grow it for a really long time because we've been busy, but we're going to be doing more of these streams once we get going again in a couple of months in the new studio. We have showing up early, making sure he's modded, and yes, he is, our longtime mod and longtime friend of the channel, Blake St. Clair, from Sydney, Australia, aka Dan Blackroyd. He's saying FBI raid, the like button. I totally agree. Hit that like. We've already got 8, which is pretty good for this channel. So share this shit out there. I don't want to keep saying it. There's the donation link. This channel is not monetized, obviously. So if you feel so inclined, please click on that link and donate something. It helps us keep the lights on, so to speak. StreamYard paid for, all that stuff. We have the first ever member of the main channel, Melissa Lord in the house, a well-known right-wing extremist. Thanks for being here. We've got Corey Cochran in the house, always showing up. And you know what I just thought of? You sent me something you wanted me to look at, but I've been very busy, like maybe working 62 to 65 hours this week amongst some other stuff going on personally. So I haven't gotten a chance to look at it, but maybe this weekend, buddy, I'll take a look at it. I kind of saw what it was, but not really. So I'll get to it. And then we have this guy in the chat, this guy, Tuscan Bob. Then we have SoCal Trojan 99, Knight of Melvin in the house. And I noticed that you became a member because it's really cool sometimes when we get notifications and we know who new, not members, but subscribers are to this channel. I don't know how you found it because I didn't post the link to this stream in Melvin's Discord until like yesterday, unless it was the one from a few weeks ago I had to cancel. But thanks for subbing. Thanks for being here. Big time and active member in the Knights of Melvin is SoCal Trojan 99. And, you know, we don't want him to move to another state yet because he hasn't gone through the litmus test of not being a carpetbagger. We got to make sure you're not going to take your California voting to another state, buddy, and then we'll allow you to move somewhere else like Texas or something like that. But, yep, well-known right-wing extremist. Yeah, I'll get to it at some point. It's just literally there's so many things I keep forgetting to do, like in real life, much less channel stuff. So pretty soon things will slow down again, and I hope, and we'll be back to normal. But let me go ahead and bring on in my first guest. He is my procurator of justice in the coming new regime. He's the medicine man of the tribe, and he is none other than Tuscan Bob.
We don't serve their kind here.
He is also the Grand High Priest, Holy Order of the Jab, Greg. It's been a long time since we've had a soul cleansing. Yeah, it's, you know, it's probably my fault because I've forgotten to ask you to play it. I don't give you the chance, let me put it that way. So it's a very important segment of every stream you're in. So I have been remiss in not asking for it or allowing it. So thank you for doing that. My soul is cleansed after the hellacious week I've experienced.
Not as bad as the My Pillow guys week. But
yep, we're going to get into that. Alora's in the house, and I totally agree. Hit the like button, share the stream once again. But yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty rough week for me. But again, I didn't get surrounded by the FBI, and it is what it is. Like, I'm not going to say I'm the biggest Mike Lindell fan.
Oh, I'm not either. But
I don't want to get into that yet. We'll get into
Okay.
it. But yeah, it's complete bullshit. But did you see anything about this Fort Walton event? This carjacking aversion that I just showed at the beginning of the stream?
Not a thing. I was trying to
saw
figure
the
out.
clip, right?
Well, I saw the clip. I was trying to figure out what the hell
All
was
right.
going
Well,
on.
let's do the tried and true method, and let's pull up an article and read it really slow and boringly. No, we're not going to do it that way.
Oh, great.
So this is CBS News. It's not, some podunk or invalid news source. This is CBS News. Well, what did I just say? It is an invalid news source. Florida ChickFilA employee stops man who allegedly tried to carjack woman with baby. And again, I was in Fort Walton Beach. It's where the airport is there. And it didn't seem like a place where this type of shit happens. But, this shit can happen anywhere. Blah, blah, blah. Armed with a stick, Branch, referring to William Branch, the alleged carjacker, approached a woman in the parking lot outside of Chick-fil-A as she was getting a baby out of the car. He then demanded her keys, grabbed them from her waistband, and tried to take the car, sheriff's office said. Chick-fil-A employee, identified by the restaurant as Michael Gordon, I assume that's Michael and not Michael or something like that, intervened after hearing the woman screaming. Part of the video of the encounter shows Gordon wrestling Branch to the ground and pinning him until more people could show up to help. So you didn't see this until I showed it then?
Correct.
Yeah. So, again, I thought it seemed like a little contrived. So I did some research, but no, it was a real thing. And once again, like, how does Chick-fil-A have this skill in general to hire based employees? Because most of the ones I've interacted with, they might be a little weird sometimes, but they would do shit like this. Like, where do they find these people, and how do they weed them out in the interview process?
I think they weed themselves out and until they get like a base level of employees that are that way, because it's it's part of their corporate culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you've worked for
I'm not working for Hate Chicken. Yeah.
If you've worked for a corporation before, particularly in retail customer service and everything, what they'll tell you is practically do nothing but call the cops.
Mm-hmm.
That's the policy, because they don't want the liability if you hurt the person, and they don't want the liability if you yourself get hurt.
Yes.
And so most companies, if this stuff doesn't hit the press, what happens to the employee is they get disciplined or shit canned.
Yes.
For violating company policy by doing a decent, righteous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if this guy managed to hurt this person, and make no mistake about it, if the article is true, he was trying to grab the keys and shit, he deserves to be infinitely hurt.
Yes.
But
a pregnant woman holding a baby, or not pregnant, but holding a baby.
I don't care if it was the goddamn Rock.
Yeah, but that makes it worse.
Pregnant, I mean, it makes it more depraved, but like, let's be honest, there's a certain person who's a hero now in this world, and he was convicted of holding a gun to a pregnant lady's stomach. So, I mean, this world doesn't have a whole lot of respect for babies in general. But
right.
Yeah, like how does Chick-fil-A get him? I'm going to guess that Chick-fil-A is going to, treat this guy like the hero he is, instead of try and discipline him for violating some company policy.
Yes. Well, no, because let me keep reading here. At one point, Branch punched Gordon in the face. Branch is the alleged criminal, but he was not seriously injured, the sheriff's office said in the clip. A woman who witnessed the incident, and that's the one yelling at the end. Let's see here. The local Chick-fil-A's Facebook page identified the quick-thinking employee and called him a hero. This is Michael Gordon at Chick-fil-A. Our mission is to serve. And today, Michael took it further to the save. I would have said, like, he served his ass.
Serve some justice.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, and then it
it's a
says
B movie.
yeah,
action
exactly.
movie.
Something MST3K did. Let's see. A major shout out to this young man for his courage. Sheriff's office tweeted, the sheriff's office wrote on its Facebook page that it expects Gordon will receive some sort of award. So here's the fucking manager and the kid. So yeah, he's not going to get in trouble from the company. Other companies might get pressured later and then punish him, but that ain't going to happen with Chick-fil-A, and it's not going to happen in Florida. But here's another point. And it's not so much just, hey, if we have cops, they should be everywhere, but it's more about we know they can't be everywhere. So stuff like this has to happen. And if it happened more often and it weren't discouraged and it weren't punished, then we wouldn't even need law enforcement. We wouldn't even need to have the double-edged sword, right? For some people, because I don't need them. I can protect myself, but I can see some weaklings in society needing some kind of protection. But if other people were willing, right, to do the job and to protect others, then we wouldn't need a governmental force to do so.
No, the police didn't exist.
No, until what, 1850, something like that?
Right. And I think it is an issue that is important to discuss, because I think I see, these videos of basically hoodlums, no better way to describe it, makes me sound
thugs,
old, I guess,
yeah.
but thugs, all going into like a department store and just smashing the shit out of everything.
Oh, that pisses me off.
And because of we hit at some point, and I can't identify where in history, but we decided that the only people that can do anything is the police departments. And so the best you can do now is hang on for dear life and call the police. And the way it used to be was you see somebody doing that kind of shit, like you could beat the fuck out of them and not be charged, not be sued, none of that garbage. You would be a hero. And you would be a hero if you just fucking beat the piss out of these type of people that are doing these kinds of things. And now we're so litigious, and all the companies and people are so afraid. And honestly, the prosecutor's office has been across the country. The prosecutors have been atrociously derelict in their duties to protect good Samaritan citizens. They're almost the first one to charge because they're the easiest to charge.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a trial like Kyle, right?
Yeah.
Rittenhouse or the McCloskeys or
man,
in all that shit. And it's like, if we as a society kind of had better control and were willing to kind of police ourselves and stand up instead of just filming, which is another issue that, I see all these videos this week. I saw one where, some, little white kid getting his ass beaten in the bathroom.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah.
And it's like, can we start charging the motherfuckers who just stand there and film?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Can we pass a law to basically be like, look, like, you don't have a duty to necessarily interfere, but like, if you're actively like not calling 911 and you're just filming it because you want your 15 seconds of fucking internet fame and a video that goes viral, you're almost as big of a piece of shit as the person perpetrating the crime.
Yeah.
And I saw that video, and one thing.
Let's find that video.
Well, I'm talking about the one you played here with the ChickFilA.
Well, let's find the other one too.
I
keep talking.
But I'm watching that video and I'm just frustrated by this guy who's just sitting in his car, or lady, I don't know who it was, but just sitting in the car, just casually filming the event. Like, put the car in drive and run the motherfucker over.
I think this is it right here. Let me paste it into Brave.
And then back up.
Yeah.
Hold the brake down and hit the gas and watch his fucking guts splatter.
Well, and here's the thing. Like, I saw that, and then I see comments of people saying stuff like, oh no, you guys want to make a big deal about a middle school fight. It's like, oh wow, that's your take? Really? Twitter is the worst place in the world, right? But still, like, that was just having that take.
Well, imagine if, and I know this is a common thing, right? It's almost a trope, right? Imagine if the races were reversed.
Yeah, that's the tweet I found, actually. I don't know who the hell this is. Scott Moorfield?
Imagine if the races
Townhall.com
are reversed and it's a group of white boys kicking the shit out of a black kid in a bathroom.
Yeah. You ready to
It would have been leading the evening news for a week. Just like
watch this through.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah.
Paused.
Yeah, I paused it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I
Did you see that hit to the head against the wall? And look at the size differential too.
Mm-hmm. We do not know the context. We do not know the context. I mean,
there's no context that makes that okay.
Yeah.
But like, it was front page news when a kid smirked at a dude in DC. Remember that?
Yeah.
He smirked at him, and it was front page news. Leading all the news stations, all the cable news everywhere. Covington Catholic kid. Right?
Yep.
And for smirking at a minority.
Yep.
Who was the actual aggressor, by the way.
Chat. There's mine.
What is that? Oh, a smirk.
Yeah, my smirk emoji. Everyone do it. But yeah, it's, I mean, they're watching too much wrestling, and he threw his head right into the wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to damage him, and in the heat of the moment they do that shit. But again, like, watch what happens after the initial Irish whip into the wall. Stomp. Okay, is it over yet? Nope.
No.
Yeah, and that kid is quite diminutive compared to look at that one. Here's another one with pajama pants. By the way, can we beat the crap out of every kid who wears pajama pants, like, as regular clothes, please? If you have a kid that does that, then yeah, punish them, please. What is this? The Indian fucked with the Sandman and found out.
No, he didn't have any repercussions at all. Sandman sued. He didn't defame Sandman at all. It was the news companies that settled with him.
Yeah. And now Kyle has a settlement too, right?
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, The View, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So that makes it even richer. Let's double check this, because you know how it is.
Didn't he get like an apology or something out of it, or something like that?
I think he got the money. Hold on.
Good.
Let's see. USA Today fact check. 22 million. The View. Claim has its origin on a satirical website.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, who knows? We'll have to do more research. It would be more talked about if it really were a thing. But yeah, this right here. Let's watch this again for the people that are just joining. Let's watch this again. So this is, I can't rewind it because Brave is stupid, but 3 more seconds. Here we go. Here's the initial throw, right? But now, that's a concussion right there. Stomp. Now the kid probably said something right here, but again, No, he didn't say anything. Another stomp, and then here, watch this phone. Oh, let me get one final shot. Pieces of shit. Like you said, the filming is what it is, and it's just as bad. It's egging on the kid doing the beating is what it is. The bully.
But by the way, the person doing the beating, not the first time he's done that to somebody, but allowed back into school.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
To do it again. So honestly, that school district should be held financially responsible for any injuries that little kid had, because they knowingly put a dangerous piece of shit back into their school.
Let me tell you a story. So it's been a long time, maybe 15 or more years ago. I used to live next door to my mother, and because she needed a lot of help and bought a house next to her, and I lived there. And my son was over there all the time, because he was young and he needed taken care of and all that stuff. Well, these kids around the corner, one of them, son of a fucking cop, of course, he started messing around with my son and stuff, like bullying him. And he broke something on my mother's property. I think it was the glass on the water meter. And then he took my son's bike and he threw it. So I got into my car and I gassed it, and I went about 60 down a residential street, turned around the corner, and I slammed on my brakes. And it was perfect because I came to a stop right in front of his house, and that stupid sheriff's house. He was on duty or something at the time. And I just kind of got out. I opened my door and stood up, and I'm like, and he had some other kids with him too. And they were about 4 years older than my son. And I'm like, if you ever come on our fucking side of the neighborhood again, you're going to have to deal with me. Got back in, closed the door, and they all have like O faces and shit. And then I just took off and never saw them on our side of the fucking neighborhood again. And that's exactly what I do here. If the school's not going to do anything, fuck the government, fuck public school system. I would deal with this piece of shit in the gray shirt myself. I don't care if he's underage. You're not going to mess with my kids. And I hope the parents of the kid on the floor have the balls to deal with it, because the school won't.
Nope, but you got to start making these school districts pay.
Yes.
I mean, like, they're just, I'm sorry, like, you beat the shit out of a person in the bathroom, like, you don't get another chance. I'm sorry. You can hire a private tutor or be homeschooled, but you're not coming back to the public schools. And yeah. I don't care if that wrecks your life or anything. Too bad, so sad. You are lucky if you're lucky you're not in jail.
You forfeited the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're not talking about two kids getting in a fucking, bumping chests and getting into a shoving match and like,
a basketball fight. Yeah.
Yeah. Three swings and then everybody breaks it up kind of fight. I mean, this is a gang of kids beating the piss out of a much smaller kid. And then not just like once he's down, like, all right, you won the fight and walk away. No, you fucking kick him in the chest and kick him in the face. I mean, right. Like, you can kill somebody that way. Pretty, like...
Yeah, what was the name of that piece of garbage football player that would do that? Like the lineman for... which team was that?
There's so many. Like, you could pick...
No, this is just recent. This is, what's his name? Big, heavy guy.
Someone in football, that's not very descriptive.
Well, I mean, he even for a lineman, he's someone in the chat will know who I'm talking about. Yes, like yeah, Sue, yeah, however the hell you pronounce his name. Yeah,
he was a Detroit Lion for a long time. Stepped on he did that to a Packer. Like, stepped on him when he was down.
I would love to see like someone like Andre the Giant, that's that much bigger than he is and stronger, just grab him by the neck and ring him. And that's the thing here. Like, this kid is like a mouse compared to the other one. I'd love to see like somebody 4 grades up, like, just demolish this other kid.
Well, see, and that was kind of one of the school dynamics that existed when I was younger. It was like there's always somebody bigger in the school for everybody except for one guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you were like a fifth grader trying to bully the shit out of a third grader, the seventh grader could come around and just, whack you one and teach you a good lesson. Be like, why don't you try? Oh, you like picking on people smaller? So do I. And then, you smack them one.
Mm-hmm.
Put him in his place. Understand that there's a pecking order, and you ain't at the top.
A dominance hierarchy, as Jordan B. Peterson would say.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
But that was kind of one of the risks if you wanted to be a bully. Is like, well, goes around, comes around sometimes. Be careful.
Yep. Yeah, but
and that
again,
was just
this
a natural deterrent.
Yeah. This thing here and this Chick-fil-A thing, like really two almost opposite things. But I'd like to get a follow-up on this right here because that guy from Town Hall made the same point you did and the role reversal. And I'm not saying, hey, someone should be allowed to do this, but not someone else. We're just pointing out the bias in the media and in, quite frankly, the authorities when it comes to stuff like this. You have video footage. This kid is identifiable, so we need to find out, like, did something come from this? And if not, it's time to take the law into your own hands, just like the Chick-fil-A employee did, because the law can't be everywhere, and even when they are, they don't do anything. And that's something we're going to get into later at a macro level, right? At the federal level, we're going to get into that. We alluded to it earlier. But yeah, this is bullshit. The Chick-fil-A thing is awesome, and I'm gonna eat the hell out of their food. I ate it this morning. I had a chicken burrito and a chicken biscuit for breakfast. So
I don't even know where the nearest Chick-fil-A to me is. I haven't eaten it.
Well, you're way up there where it's not like a big thing. But
yeah, they haven't
what
franchised out too much in the Midwest or my neck of the woods anyway.
You know what I said about that video though, about the Chick-fil-A one on Twitter? I think it was yesterday morning. I said, if this is hate chicken, I am Chief Hater Supremo. So yeah, I mean, give me some more, please. Give me some strips and some whatever they call their nuggets there. Yeah. And they have the best ones too. They're not even nuggets, they're chunks of chicken breast battered.
The thing about the hate chicken, like, what else stems from? It's not Chick-fil-A like refusing to serve gay people or something like that, or anything like that.
I'm pretty sure some work at the ones I live at. So yeah,
it was literally that, like, the family that owns it, like, supported a defensive marriage type bill.
Yes,
financially,
because you're not allowed to have
some
political
referendum.
views. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's where the whole hate chicken, it was nothing that the business did. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't do any of that shit. It was literally they supported a DOMA type legislation, which for the longest time, like, fucking defensive marriage passed in California.
Yeah.
Not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was signed into law on a federal level by Bill Clinton.
Yep.
Not that long ago.
And you know who else supported it going into office?
Until his re-election campaign in 2012, Mr. Barack Hussein Obama.
Yeah. The commie himself.
And our current president, Coma Poopy Pants.
Yeah. They're all opportunist pieces of garbage is what they are. And anyone who follows them, or pretty much 99.99% of politicians, is an idiot. So, remember like 4 years ago? Oh man, Dan Crenshaw, the eye patch guy, he's so awesome and he's so based and he's so great. And now he's like John McCain 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
So congratulations
in what
voters.
really irritates me in the world of politics, you're going to get some squishy people on both sides of the aisle, right? You're going to have your Mitt Romneys on the Republican side, and then you're going to have your Kirsten Sinemas or your Joe Manchins, right? Or your Joe Liebermans. They're going to be squishy on some issues and kind of vote against the party line on occasion, mostly when it doesn't really count, except for John McCain, the worst piece of shit ever to walk the face of the earth.
I need to make a McCain clip.
You expect, I expect Susan Collins from Maine to be squishy because she's in a pretty purple, almost blue state, really. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to get your hard line, really solidly conservative or libertarian candidates out of those states because sometimes it's better just to get the seat because the alternative is even worse. What really pisses me off though is when you get squishy fucks in like the most solid one color area of the country. It would be like AOC being like moderate. Like she's got no reason to be moderate, and neither does like Nancy Pelosi. Some of the safest districts in the entire country.
Yeah.
Like they're never going to vote for a Republican ever in those districts. So you expect them to be pretty hard line, consistent with their base in their area. Really pisses me off though when you get squishy people like a Mitt Romney is from fucking Utah. Why do we have a cuck weakling in one of the reddest states in the country? Mm-hmm. Just like why do we have a cuck weakling in the House of Representatives from Wyoming? But that was fixed recently.
Have you seen any of Razor Fist coverage of what's going on in Arizona, like all the carpetbagger politicians that are like from Portland and stuff? You're seeing a lot of that too happening.
Oh yeah, but that's you saw it in Georgia, in hotly contested races or hotly contested states. Yeah, you get a lot of outside bullshit.
Well, what's scaring me is like, and again, guys, I've talked about this before, and I don't mean offense to anyone, but all this, it's Cal exit and stuff, but here's what's happening. Like Montana and Idaho are probably going to flip because they're turning purple. Even Texas. It's like what happens is you get people that live in not the rural parts of places like California because those are pretty normal people. But you get people living
almost the entire east side of California is red country.
Oh yeah, and parts of South too.
Mm-hmm.
Like big swaths of those counties, the population's lower. But the point is, even in the cities, you'll get people that think, right, that they're right of the aisle. But then what happens is they move somewhere like Texas and they realize, oh, wait, things are different here, right? Like there's not this city service or there's not this and that. And then they start voting for these city councilmen and these state senators and all this, and then suddenly that state turns purple and then eventually blue. So please don't move to the Midwest or the South or Wyoming, Montana, places like that are up north, but generally conservative, unless you actually know where you're moving, because they don't want your values there. I'm sorry to say that, but that's what's been happening, and it's scary. Because over time, it's going to change the makeup of the electoral map for sure.
Well, yeah, and it like if you go back through presidential elections and you look at the maps and the demographics and which states are red and which states are blue, they've changed very dramatically just in our lifetime. Mm-hmm. California was a red state.
Yep. Oh, look at 1984. Every state was a fucking red state,
except for Minnesota.
So, and DC, District of Columbia.
District of Columbia. That's the only electoral votes that Mondale won.
Yep.
But even in 88, George H.W. Bush, the map is very, very, very different now. I mean, my state, Wisconsin, has been a blue state since Reagan's reelection, with the exception of Trump once.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been it's, you know, when it comes to presidential races, it was blue. I mean, it went for Dukakis, it went for Clinton, it went for Gore, it went for Kerry, it went for Obama twice. Like, you know, Trump won it once.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
so
that's
like
true.
the demographics and the shifts vary, and that's natural as people move around the country. But then people's, you know, it kind of depends on the area you grow up in too. Is like you get young people that are like, I don't know, like I think the very young generation right now is going to come up probably more based than we've seen in a while. Simply because they're seeing the absurdity of the other side.
I think it's a good theory, but you know,
I'm
I won't
hopeful,
believe
but
it until I see it in action.
and there's some
So,
demographic shifts with the minority populations as well. Texas really
wow.
should be a blue state by now, but it's shifted. And Florida, like, you know, it was red, and then it was purple, and now it's red.
Well, you know, speaking of which, I did that short that did really well on this channel on Myra Flores winning. I think I was one of the
Hmm.
first people to report on it because I happened to be on Twitter, and it popped up like 20 minutes ago. And I'm like, I'm making a short on that. Read about what happened, got some pictures, made the short, and it has over 1,000 views on this channel. That's what's great about shorts. I think I picked up like 10 subs just from that short. So let me tell you what, guys, once I get in the studio on this channel, we're going to start really trying to build it. But yeah, stuff like that is happening. And don't forget, she beat a pro-life Democrat.
Mm.
So let me tell you what, in about 2
And
months
that's a
here,
rare
we're going to
breed.
be we're going to be talking about a bloodbath. Period. Small time republics here with the pillars. Yeah, the freebies, that's why we need to shore up the electorate, because when you have a certain segment of Congress that can use the carrots, right, to persuade their voter base to vote for them,
Hmm.
and that's the only thing that matters to them, that means your electorate sucks and you need to shore it up and only have people voting that are voting for the right reasons. But it's too late. I think that ship has sailed, and over time it's only going to get worse. Because it takes a certain type of person that's based to willingly say, I want to work for what I have. I want to earn what I have, right? It's not really, and in this day and age, it's not a commodity that is dispersed all throughout America. It's very rare. Somebody that wants to earn what they have and have personal pride in their achievements. They want to just do what they want to do, stare at their phone, watch Netflix, get paid for it on someone else's dime, and then vote for the person that's going to let them do that at the expense of everyone else in the future and some people in the present. It's a fucked up situation.
Well, yeah, it's like, imagine like it's like a homeowners association where you get a couple people that keep voting for ridiculous capital improvements because they
Yeah.
know they can split the bill. But it's
Hmm.
even worse in politics because most of the people that want the capital improvements or the spending aren't splitting the bill or paying a bill of any kind whatsoever.
Yeah.
They're, you know, they're getting refunds in excess of everything that was withheld plus.
Yeah.
So they're actually paying a net negative tax rate. So what's the incentive for them to vote the other way?
Right.
And then the other issue is that, you know, I think a lot of Republican people are quite guilty of this, unfortunately, is that they have a perception that their taxes are too high. And I got to be honest, the shit that you want, you're not covering. So your
Hmm.
taxes actually aren't too high. And there's a lot of people that would be like, oh yeah, a federal daycare program because daycare is so expensive. Yeah, that's great. Give me a tax credit so I can recoup some of the cost of putting my kids in a daycare.
Yeah.
And hey, part of me says, I guess can't really blame them. But like your taxes, the amount that you're paying doesn't cover that. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. I mean, you look at what a public school is spending per student, in excess of $10,000 in most areas of the country per student.
Mm-hmm.
Like you send 3 kids to public school, are you paying $30,000 in taxes a year?
Hell no.
To cover that? I doubt it. I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, people are stupid.
Well, yeah.
Teachers are not volunteering their time. They're getting paid. Who's paying for that? It ain't you.
Right. And every time that you want smaller class sizes and higher pay for teachers, like, that comes from somewhere. And then you turn around and vote. Like in my state, there was the big bugaboo about Act 10, which was reforms put in place by Scott Walker, the governor, to limit and put some restrictions on public sector unions' ability to not to organize, but like some restrictions on basically the goodies they can get, because public sector unions are like the motherlode of pure, unadulterated corruption.
Yeah.
Imagine that, Tim, you own a business and you're in a labor dispute with your union because unfortunately, when you bought the business, it was unionized and you can never get rid of an existing union practically. And it comes for negotiations and it's like, okay, I'm going to negotiate on your behalf, Tim, but the union's paying me.
Yep. I know.
That's public sector's union. So we had this reform. And the idea was to get some of these costs and ridiculousnesses, under control, particularly when it came to their benefits package, not so much their base pay. So they put the thing into play. And by the way, when it passed, the Democrats stormed the Capitol building, were completely packed into the Capitol rotunda, screaming and yelling.
So was that
which is a threat to our democracy?
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
That's after they pulled the stunt where they fled the state, so they couldn't establish what's that called, the minimum number of people present to actually be able to vote up or down on legislation.
A quorum?
Yeah. So that's after the Democrats all left the state, and this was before they pulled that shit. Remember, they did that shit in Texas. We did it here in Wisconsin first. They fled to Illinois. So they didn't have a quorum, so they couldn't pass the bill. Because the bill was going to pass because the Republicans controlled the legislature and had the governorship.
But it only matters when the media reports on it, Greg. So
that is true.
Yeah.
Anyway, it did pass. But then an unfortunate thing happened, and I saw it across a number of municipalities, and it was great. It was going to hold the cost down. And then all of a sudden you had a bunch of municipalities passing referendums for, to borrow or bond so they could improve the football stadium and get a new gym and all sorts of other capital improvements. Because when you send your kid to school, like that's the most important thing, and money should be no object. But then when your kids aren't in that school, then suddenly you become fiscally conservative again. Just like with colleges, the reason why colleges are never, ever going to get reformed as far as the truckloads of money that is wasted every second on every single campus in this country, by the truckload it's wasted. You can't walk 15 feet on a campus without just pointing at shit and going, why did you spend that? Why did you spend that? What are you doing here? But it'll never get reformed because my kid's about to go to college. We're not cutting colleges now. We're not going to reform the colleges and do that when it's my kid that's eligible.
Yeah.
And then suddenly when their kids pass, and then suddenly it becomes you turn more conservative again and fiscally responsible. And it's that kind of selfish voting record that even Republican voters are guilty of. It has just done immeasurable damage to the republic and fiscal responsibility and good governance.
Timon from Brazil is in the house. South America. You know what happened there recently, right, Greg?
I haven't been paying attention to it. I should, but I haven't been. I know in Argentina they had an election, right?
Possibly, but in Chile they had.
Oh, was it Chile?
Yeah, they had a referendum on a new constitution, and they threw that constitution from a helicopter. So good news, because it was a garbage socialist constitution. So good for the voters of Chile.
Oh yes, I remember seeing some of the details. It was insane, like the guarantees and bullshit rights. Like here's a good principled rule of thumb when it comes to what is a right and what is not a right. If it's something that somebody else has to provide to you by force, it's not a right. So you could say like it's I need a house to live in. I need clothes on my back. But it's not a right to demand somebody else make them for you.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that a good constitution is structured, the rights are a negative thing. They're a list of things that the government can't do to you, not things that the government owes you.
Right. Yep. He says the government hasn't given it up yet. Well, I'll have to read up on that, but the voters have spoken. They need to bring back Pinochet. Yeah, healthcare is a right, is what SoCal Trojan 99 is. No, not really. I mean, you may think it's something that's important. You may, in your own opinion, if you're a person saying it's my opinion that it should be, but no, it's definitely not. Making enough money, being enabled to make enough money to buy some Neosporin and some ibuprofen, and I know what else, to pay for medical care. That's your only right. Being enabled to make enough money to pay for those things at a free market price. That's what your right is. So good point there. People do say that. It doesn't even make any sense. Like, it's healthcare. Look, if you're dying in America, go to the emergency room. That's never been something you can't do, right? You can go to the emergency room. But to say I am entitled to go there for checkups and not pay for my surgeries and all this other shit, no. Who's paying for it? Someone else is. I mean, I don't want to go down the socialism rabbit hole, but these people are delusional. There's not this endless supply of government money, taxpayer money that we can use to fund these things.
I don't believe healthcare is a right at all.
I agree. That's what I'm saying. It's not.
It's a service that has to be provided.
To pay for it.
Yes, it is a voluntary transaction between the medical staff and yourself for a service provided.
Yes. Yeah. What if everyone in America decides I don't want to be a healthcare worker? I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be a nurse. What if they all decide I'm not going to do that? You can't force people to take a certain profession.
At what level can you claim it? Like, okay, so like if I know that I have a doctor that lives in my neighborhood, can I just like walk over to his house and demand that he service me because healthcare is my right? I have a right to it.
Right.
I'm sorry, no. It's like you don't have a right to demand work from a person.
No.
It is a voluntary transaction. You could be like, hey, like if you want to say like, look, we want to have government healthcare programs or whatever, there's a way to do it without declaring it a right. And you're just like, look, it's a service and we're gonna socialize it and pool all the money and pay out of this one kitty. But that still doesn't make it a right. I wouldn't prefer that either, because then the quality just goes to fucking shit.
Intended.
And then who gets to decide, what's covered, what shouldn't be covered, who's eligible, who shouldn't be eligible. It always leads to rationing. You say, well, the insurance companies do. It's like, yeah, but you can switch insurance companies.
Yeah, and again, you can't force someone to do something. People, you'll hear bullshit about, I became a doctor because I want to help people. Okay, then why don't you do it for $35,000 a year minimum amount to get a studio apartment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff. Don't have any kids. Don't get married. Devote your life to being a surgeon. You work 12 hours a day. Go home, have a TV dinner, go to bed, go back to work. No, it's because you want to do it for compensation. So having a free market, right, to pay for labor for its value is the way you get more doctors. And having these bullshit government healthcare systems is what creates poor healthcare, period. So,
well, it creates a situation where rationing becomes a necessity.
Yes, that too. Yes,
the supply is finite because the incentive to go into the field because of cost restrictions from the government-run programs make it an undesirable profession. Especially considering if you're smart enough to be a doctor, and by the way, not all doctors are brilliant people.
No, they're not.
But like, if you have the discipline and to go through all that, there's a number of other professions that you could choose that would pay pretty comparably and be much less of a headache, and where people won't come in and demand that you give them service for nothing.
Yep. I mean, let's look at it this way. Brothel visits are a right. Who's going to manage that program? I mean, it's just as arbitrary, in my opinion, saying that brothel rights are a right versus like having healthcare as a right. It's
just because you need something doesn't make it a right,
or even want something.
Yeah, there's
what if you don't want to
a want and a right are three different things. They are. Just because you need it doesn't mean that somebody else is obligated to provide it to you.
Can I ask something, Corey? Like, where are you from? Like, you don't have to tell me your exact location, but like, what region are you from? Because you have a lot of interesting facts. The collage,
710, Jesus.
The collage in my town, yeah. Oh yeah, that's another thing. Totally different stream, but education costs are going insane. E. Clay Thomason, member at a channel, is in the house. What's going on?
They're going through the roof. I'm sorry. They're going through the roof at the time when they should be cratering. The technological world that we live in now, and I'm not talking about like, school from home for like elementary school students, but like, if you're a 20-year-old adult, like you can have one professor lecture to 100,000 people at a time, 1 million people at a time. Like how many people listen to Rogan? Like 8 million a day or whatever.
I have no idea.
Yeah, like he could like in a college environment, the professor is not exactly providing a whole lot of one-on-one for most of the classes, because one, it's not necessary, and two, they're some of the laziest fucks on earth. So there's no reason, like there's no reason for the cost to go up. They should be going dramatically down.
Yeah.
But they're not, because we need 18 administrators per every fucking student.
Right.
But yeah, I know you want to cover that some other time, but
we could definitely do that. And I see Alora saying we get shitty doctors. I assume she means on the res.
Yeah,
I don't
doctors
know.
she says doctors who are best in their field won't work for Indian Health Services because it's a federally funded and/or free due to treaties.
Oh, I didn't see that comment. I missed it. Sorry.
Well, it's just like with whatever your state's version of it, but it's the Medicaid program.
Right.
Good luck finding a doctor that accepts it unless they have to. Because the compensation rates make it completely untenable to take on like a dentist that'll take on people on the state program, because the compensation rates just absolutely suck. They're terrible. And so and that's if they get paid at all.
I would never, ever, ever, ever want to be in any medical profession. I don't care if it's dental or anything else, because I don't want to interact with people. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
If I could go back in time and pick a profession, other than like a stock trader to make $1 gazillion knowing what I know now, but like I would have definitely pursued a field in pharmacy. Like, pharmacists make pretty damn good money. They get pretty good pay to do medical work that really isn't icky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have to you don't have to shove your hand in some rotten vag.
Oh. Knights of Melvin's in the house. What's going on, Darth Melvin? Right.
But like, no, I mean, you may have to hear a patient describe how rotten their vag is, but or the fact that their dick is wilting off because they stick it anywhere they can. Not to be super graphic, but too late. But like, you get that kind of medical pay. It's not as much school to be a doctor. I think it's an interesting field to me. I would go back. That would be the one medical profession that I'd be interested in pursuing. I'm not going to do that at that point. I'm at 46 years old. I'm not going to fucking college for 6 years.
I would just never want to do that. It's not something I'm interested in. I went to the dentist yesterday, and I don't know, this guy, I could tell he didn't like doing it. It's like, dude, you don't have to be nice to me. Just give me the facts and get me the fuck out of here. I mean, that's the type of guy I am. Do you know what the Berkman test is?
Not off the top of my head.
So it's a personality test that a lot of companies do, and it's got a quadrant grid where you answer all these questions, and then it gives your usual style, like how you interact, then it gives your needs, and then it gives your stress point. And it's pretty damn accurate if you answer the questions honestly. And I could tell this guy was definitely acting outside of his comfort zone, which, is totally fine, but it's almost like you wish you could have it like floating by your shoulder, so he knows I don't need a bunch of touchy-feely bullshit. Just say, okay, you have a cavity here, and we need to do this, and they'll give you the cost up front. Have a good day. All right, see you later. And I'd be totally good with that.
Yeah,
I kind of wish we had something like that on our shoulder. Here's my personality profile.
I'm very much the same way when it comes to doctors and dentists. I don't want, like, I don't, do not give me the kindergarten teacher voice, ever.
Well, hold on. because I have a caveat to that. I went to this dentist for about 5 years, right? And the whatever you call them, the nurses, the assistants, every woman,
The hygienists.
yeah, well, the ones that assisted in the procedures, all of them, every single one of them, if they were female in that office,
They were
you got
smoking, weren't
called. Some of them, but even the ones that weren't, this is what changed it. They would call you baby doll, lover, like all this stuff, and then I'm lying there like, oh no,
Weird.
I'm under anesthesia, and then they're like rubbing your arm, and it was like the greatest experience ever, and it made getting
Never
your
heard of a
teeth,
happy ending at a dentist's office. But okay.
but it made getting your teeth drilled like that much more or less unpleasant. Let me put it that way. I need to go back to that place, but because they still exist. But the point is that
That's
that I'll take, but I don't need
horrifically
the.
unprofessional. I would feel very uncomfortable with that. I
No,
just want to be like,
no, you're a weirdo.
I don't want to lecture.
No, that's a part I'm getting at. I don't need, where do you work and are you from
I
here
don't want small
originally?
talk.
And
Yeah,
Mhm.
just get in there, do the shit you need to do. Tell me what needs to be done, how long it's going to take, and how much it's going to cost.
Yes. Yeah, yes, Clay, it 100% was.
Are you
And
sure it was a dentist office?
I guarantee even the cashier or whatever the fuck you call the one at the front would be like, all right, that's like $19.99, lover boy. It was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I can't wait for
I
my
would
next
find
visit.
that extraordinarily creepy and weird. I'm sorry, I would.
You're a Yankee weirdo. That's why.
I guess, like, I hate like one of my biggest turnoffs is fucking baby talk.
From a guy, yeah, but I mean,
no, even from like the hottest woman in the world, like baby talk and overly like sugar and that kind of stuff. I just like the basic Southern kind of stuff. Like I can tolerate, but like if you start going into baby talk voices, like and like you do that shit.
no,
like,
it's
oh
not
my
like that. No, they
my
didn't do that.
fucking god, that irritates the shit out of me.
No, that was a great dentist office. I could go into stories about that place, but I won't. And
I prefer my dentist office without stripper poles, but I mean, to each his own.
but that's the thing. Like most of them were probably at least at MILF level, maybe GILF level, but they were still, good to go. So,
Oh, hey,
anyway.
I've had some extraordinarily attractive dental hygienists. It's like, holy mackerel! Like I'm falling in love with you, and you are fucking like you're maybe I'm a little bit maybe I'm into that. Maybe that's my like hidden kink. I like you're hurting me, but you're hot, and I kind of like it. Like spank me, baby, spank me. But
Clipped.
yeah, go ahead. I don't care. I'm fucking drinking tonight, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah, it's not working for me. This is like probably my 8th beer and I'm still totally good, but that's what happens when
your
you weigh
tolerance
300
level is,
pounds.
yeah, your
Yes.
tolerance level is much higher than mine because I've retired from becoming a professional drinker. So
Wait, I found this clip. That's pretty close.
We got a hit.
Yeah.
We're winning, baby.
We're winning, baby.
That was like from one of the first streams. So
Here, we'll do a modified version of it that fits tonight's topic, or at least not the topic, but the direction tonight is going. It'd be like, we got a boner. We're winning, baby. There you go.
yeah, Blake. They don't call them oral hygienists for nothing. So yeah, but really, it helps when you're on the laughing gas and the anesthesia, and you know that this guy's going to come in with this huge drill and go, you have this.
Oh, I never
chick
do the
with
gas.
soft hands rubbing your arm. It really helps. So
I never do the gas.
that's good health care.
The only thing I'll do is I'll take the needle. I don't do the gas. But it's weird
That's
for me.
a good point too, Melissa. Yeah.
for me at a dent, like I don't know, metabolically I process anesthetics fast. So an issue for me if I'm having a long dental procedure done, like a root canal or something like that, I'll max out the amount of Novocaine that they can give me without having like an anesthesiologist present, because it'll wear off and I'll be like, I can feel that. Like the last root canal I had to have, I had to just gut out the rest of it, feeling the whole thing, because they're like, well, we'll have to pack it back with this temporary thing, and then you can come back and we'll finish it later. It's like, nope, finish the fucker. I'll just grit and bear it. Like, no,
I forgot to tell a story. So, last week I kind of told this story about last Friday night when we started the stream, and I only was on camera for a few minutes. And I was actually without glasses, without my contacts. So if I look cross-eyed, that's why, because I turned the camera off and I put my glasses back on. So anyway, only a few people have seen me with glasses. When I was doing some tests on streaming a few weeks ago, I also streamed to Twitch as a control method.
Subscribe on Twitch. You would have gotten that notification.
Yeah.
See Tim wearing glasses.
Well, Jock Nerdy is in the chat like instantly, and he's like, hey, what's going on? And I'm like, dude, this is just a test. And he made a few more comments. But the point is, that night I was eating dinner 1 week ago tonight, and my eye started hurting. So I ran to the bathroom, took my contacts out, and it wouldn't stop hurting. And it got to the point where I couldn't open my left eye. And get this, I couldn't shut my left eye. I had to keep it like halfway open to where it wouldn't hurt. So we did the stream, right? And then I woke up and immediately I'm like, I'm going to the doctor. I found one eye doctor open at the mall in a Lens Crafters. So they rushed me back. The old fart that was the only doctor on duty, he was great. He numbed my eye. He looked in it. He said, there's no metal shards, anything like that, but you have a ton of abrasions on it. So what I think happened is Wednesday night last week, I took out my contacts after work, and I remember it being like a suction cup, and it felt like I ripped my whole eye out. Well, for whatever reason, it took 2 days for that effect to happen. And it just started hurting. So Saturday, I went there. They gave me a prescription. Okay, great. We got to the pharmacy, and get this. It had the wrong person's name on the paper. So I called and they answered. I'm like, yay, they answered. I'm like, hey, I need you gave me the wrong one and I need the right one. I'm in pain. Okay, we'll email it to you. Then you can take that to the pharmacy. Okay, cool. Sitting in the parking lot 10 minutes later, there's no email. So I call back and I'm like, look, it's me again. And I really need that revised prescription. Oh, yeah. What's your name again? I'm like, are you kidding me? Okay, I gave the name. Here's my email address again. Okay, great. Thank you. Still nothing. Called again. And they answered like, we're working on it. And guess what? After the time they closed, they stopped answering the phone. So Saturday night, I went to bed at 8 o'clock because I was in so much pain. It was like one of those pains where you can't focus on anything else, but I need to find a way to get out of this pain, right? So I went to bed at 8 o'clock listening to an old Jordan B. Peterson podcast with some guy that was in the tech industry, his brother-in-law, actually. It was a good stream, fell asleep, and woke up pretty early because I was in pain. And I texted my friends. I'm like, do you guys know any eye doctors? Like friends or friends of friends that can open their office? I am fucked up. And they're like, well, hey, we have this doctor on demand thing with work. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. And it's free of charge. So I created an account, and within 5 minutes of starting the process to create the account, there was a doctor on my phone. And she's like, okay, put your eye to the phone. And I told her the story, and she's like, whoa, that's fucked up. And so she said, I know exactly what you need. The only thing I can't prescribe is a steroid because you have to be in person, and that will help the healing process. But I got the pain reliever and the antibiotic within 30 minutes from the store, right, from the pharmacy. So I started healing, and I'm wearing my contacts right now for the first time in a week. So thank God it wasn't a permanent damage or anything, but that's fucked up healthcare right there. When you tell them you're in pain, I need my prescription, you gave me the wrong one. And trust me when I say that when I have time and I feel like it, I'm calling back that place and I'm going to cuss someone out. I don't give a rat's ass. Someone needs to pay for that. There's no such thing as an honest mistake that doesn't get rectified when they know that I was calling, knowing I was in pain, and didn't deal with it. Yeah, you're right. They're assholes, Timon. Complete fucking assholes. But it was the only place open on a Saturday. Anyway.
Yeah,
I
it's
guess
one of those circumstances where you're like, when you call back the second time, you got to be like, okay, I'll hold on the line until I get the email.
I almost did. But I'm like, well, she sounds like she wants to help, right? She did. She sounded like she wanted to help. So I'm like, okay, I'll let them do it. And I keep refresh. Exactly, Melvin. It's revenge. I'm, let me try to do my Darth Maul voice. Like, at last, we will reveal ourselves to the eye doctor. At last, we will have our revenge. The ophthalmologists. But yeah,
I was there and be like, do you know of the old Klingon proverb about
that revenge is a dish best served cold? It's very cold
in space.
In the mall. No, but I'm someone who, when I was younger, I used to kind of go into a rage. And I haven't done that in a long time, but I got home and I like picked stuff up and I was throwing it. I was so pissed off. So, because I was in pain. Like, it felt like, eye pain and teeth pain. There's nothing worse.
I haven't really experienced the eye pain so much. I mean, I did have a cornea transplant.
I remember you told me that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That wasn't like, it was uncomfortable, but it wasn't really pain. It was weird. I mean, it was a weird experience, but not pain. But let me tell you, like, having like an abscessed tooth and having that shit swell up and shit, like, that is just like a pain that you can't concentrate on anything.
Yep.
And like every distraction, because like every little thing requires an enormous amount of like focus to even get done because you're so distracted by the pain that like any outside voice, any extra noise, it just becomes instantaneously infuriating.
Yes.
Like, leave me alone. Shut up. Like your phone notification goes off and you feel like smashing it into a billion pieces because you're like, I'm trying to concentrate here. I'm dealing with this pain. It won't go away. It's just throbbing and it's just constant. It won't go away. You're not getting good sleep. Like, you can't. So you're sleep deprived and like you can't concentrate on anything. And so any extraneous noise or sensory input, it just becomes enraging. And I mean, that's why patients are like, are difficult to deal with, is because they're going through that. And even people that are fairly well adjusted otherwise, it becomes enormously difficult to stay that way when enduring pain. And I can speak as in my younger days, I was a little bit of I had some temper control issues. We'll say it that way. Never hit a woman or anything like that, or got in trouble, or assault
you
or
didn't play
anything
football,
like that.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to. So like if the conscious is desires are a sin, I was guilty as fuck. Because I had a terrible temper.
Well, you tell us, you went to Catholic school.
Yeah. Yes, I did for 8 years. Well, it's desire, unholy desires, it can be sinful and things that you should.
We're going to talk about those in a minute.
But fortunately, I never got myself into trouble where like And like I knew I had a temper issue, so I would avoid fights whenever I realistically could. Because I always had this like fear in the back of my mind that I wouldn't be able to stop.
Yeah.
I really did have like that was a fear that I had that like if I got the upper hand in a fight, I wouldn't know when to stop swinging.
Or biting or scratching or clawing. Yeah.
Or whatever. You wouldn't like I was afraid that I would go too far. But like that's one of those things that like if you're a young man, and it predominantly affects men more than women, if you're aware of that limitation and everything, like you can take steps to mitigate it and not become a complete fucking psychopathic savage. And you know, that's part of raising young men to be good young men is the ability to kind of teach that to young men so they don't become the kid in school that throws a guy's face into a wall and then kicks him in the face when he's down.
Yeah.
Like whatever pissed him off and set him off at that point is like at some point you have to have that level of discipline and control over your raw base emotions to say like, no, enough.
Yeah.
Stop.
I don't disagree.
Stop.
Yeah.
And you know, to cycle back to that original thing, part of your role as a good friend is if you got a friend that is out of control, you put your fucking phone down and you grab him and you say, enough, he's had enough, stop.
No, you go like this. You kind of like that kid. You kind of swing the phone at the one last shot. All right, I'm done. Like, fuck you.
No, you get in between your friend and the person they're pummeling and say, stop. What you're doing, like whatever provoked it, whatever the cause was, even if it was just at this point, you are now the bad guy. You need to stop. And that's what a good friend will do. Like,
hold on. So in other words, hold on, Greg. In other words, you're saying, Johnny, he's had enough, right?
Yes. to karate. Thank you so much. But no, I mean, that's the friend that I want backing me up in a fight, not the one that's going to encourage me to wreck the rest of my life and force me to live with the guilt of something because I went too far.
Yeah.
I'd much rather have the friend that pulls me back and keeps me out of the fight than revs me up and for his own sadistic pleasure winds me up and then sets me loose. Like that's a bad friend. If you have those type of people in your life, get rid of them.
Yes.
Particularly if you're a young dude and you know you're just getting out to the bars and you know and all that stuff. Those are the most toxic, worst people that you can be around. They will get you in trouble. Hang out with the people that'll get you out of trouble.
Yep.
That'll stop you.
Or no one at all. That's an option too. So.
Or go solo. Because you know, ultimately, like if you're gonna pick fights, like I think you're a pussy if you pick fights with the plan that your friends are gonna back you up. Like either you win by yourself or find a way to stop.
Yes.
Or don't get into the fight. Don't be one of these fucking kick dogs that just barks and expects your friends to back you up when you bark.
But going back to the sin of the flesh thing, I promised earlier in the stream, we're going to look at the hot conservative chick of the night. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way because I'm going to be honest, we haven't talked about any of the topics yet.
I know we're just kind of, well, you know, it's a politics / casual stream. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Of course it is. But yeah, here she is. That's a fantastic picture, I would have to say. So girls with guns, guys. Those are the ones. Girls with guns, they're the ones. That's not a song, I just made it up. I need to make some kind of clip out of that.
I'm disappointed in the resolution of the picture, but you know, I like what I'm
well,
seeing.
Shit, you can find what you can find, buddy. So you can find what you can find. And then I want to go back up and address something Timon asked about. about this Latin phrase that's on the thumbnails, and it's kind of the motto, the si vos conentur privare mihi libertas mea tu mihi and inimicum. So what that means is Greg had said something like a long time ago on a stream, like that's a great saying. And you said several things in a row, but this was just one of them. The last part of the phrase was the same on everything you said, but I picked one of them, and that says in Latin, if you try to take away my freedom, then you're my enemy. That's something I live by. I don't judge people by what they believe in. And I think Ripa said something, or somebody said something in the last week about who the fuck said this? It might have been Zuby or someone. Someone said something about like if you don't have a right. Gosh, I wish I knew what it was. I know what the essence of it is, but it's hard to think of the actual words. Like, you don't have a right to like tell somebody how to live. A right is being able to live how you want to live, something along those lines, right? So the point there is, I don't care what you believe, what you want to do, but as soon as what you believe and what you want to do affects my own personal liberty, that's what makes you my enemy. Nothing else does. I don't care if you're for this or you're for that or whatever else, but when it starts intruding on what I want to do as an individual that doesn't hurt anyone else, that's what makes you my enemy. Period.
Yes, but like some of the with some issues, it becomes a little bit murky when deciding like, does it hurt anybody else? Because there's the direct impact that behavior or something could have, and then there's societal impact as well. So like, I'm not an absolutist in that sense. With the exception of some basic, like obviously life, property rights, things like that. But like, if you said like, well, I have a right to watch child pornography, but like, no, you don't.
No, because the fact that exists, right,
means somebody was hurt in the process.
Yes.
But I mean, but what the goddamn maps will say is, well, it was already done anyway. So like, no additional harm is being done. It's like, no, but your
I found it.
Consumption of that encourages more production of it.
And I guess I'm a fucking racist, right? Because I said Zuby and I said Ripa, but guess who it really was? It was Thomas Sowell. So it was a black guy, and I'm racist. No, he said and Thomas.
Yeah,
Sowell,
but a lot of people quote Thomas Sowell, so I mean, they literally could have said it and just quoting Thomas Sowell because he's got like a lot of great quotes.
I have been reading him in the newspaper. I don't know how long, his syndicated column, like for decades. He's freaking amazing. He's, Hoover Institute, amazing life. I actually have one of his biographies, autobiographies, in my library. But here's the quote: "Freedom ultimately means the right of other people to do things that you do not approve of."
Yes.
Yeah. So, I don't approve of, and I've said this for a long time, like the SJW stuff, you can talk about that all you want, but it's not just left wing. If you want to define something as SJW, think about, the evangelicals that don't believe in, you can't do this and you can't do that. You're also doing the same thing SJWs do. You're trying to limit somebody's right to watch what they want to watch, do what they want to do, because of your own ideology, not because it's objectively wrong in harming someone else. So, and then you could say, well, who's the arbiter of harming someone else? Well, there are some things that are clear cut. If I take a knife and just stab someone in the shoulder because I feel like it, and there's no reason for it, then that's
Yeah, those are the really
objectively
obvious
wrong.
ones. But like you could take like pornography, right?
No, I don't see a problem with it. Consenting adults. So
yes.
don't ruin my night later, Greg. Come on.
But would you say that, like, and we'll bring it back to like some current political issues, like would you say that that belongs in a children's school library?
No.
Okay. Even cartoon
I don't believe in
renditions.
children's school libraries, so
Well, I mean, but knowing that they do exist, and like I still don't know why, but they still do.
Mhm.
But that's the the like, ooh, conservatives are trying to ban books in schools, and look at this book, and it's like,
Yeah, but they're
yeah,
banning
like,
Catcher in the Rye because it has a word they don't like in it, you know.
right. So like I think when it comes to cancel culture and like restricting things, like I don't think there was a whole lot of conservatives that were advocating for the banning of the discontinuation of a Dr. Seuss book. Right?
Yes.
That wasn't conservatives that were doing that. But like, hey, if the thing depicts like cartoon images of a boy blowing an adult male, like probably not appropriate for a children's school library, correct? But then you have people like Joe Biden just out there who said this week, literally all books should be allowed in the library. They don't believe in banning books. I'm like, really? You don't believe in banning books?
Yeah, exactly.
Like you're trying to like, your side kicks people off of social media for wrong pronouns and saying ivermectin
And dead naming people.
and dead naming and shit like that. So like surely you
I didn't even know
believe
what
in
that meant
some,
until you explained it to me.
like surely you believe it. Like everybody believes in some censorship. There needs to be some set of societal standards, and then the argument can be like, where do we set that line? Like, should it necessarily, like, should it be banned from publication? No. But should it be in kids' school libraries? Also, no. And that's not banning a book, by the way. When you say, like, no, we don't want this book in the children's library because it has depictions of fucking sexual acts. And, like, maybe that's not appropriate for the elementary school library. Like,
right.
That's a pretty reasonable... I think that's a pretty reasonable position, but no, like, nope, that's banning books. Can't do it. Like, no, like, I'm not like ultimately like super libertarian in some of these things. Like, I do think, society does need to have some standards of decency. And where we draw that line can be up for the public debate, but like there should be a line. Like I would say that, I'm sorry, like I think that not only should child drag shows be fucking banned, but like I would like to see a ban on child beauty pageants. I think it's gross and disgusting. And I don't think the children can legally consent, and the adults that are pushing their kids into this shit are deranged.
Yep.
And seeking
vicarious deranged,
living vicariously through their children that they're abusing. So I would say like no drag queen shows for little kids, and also no beauty pageants for little kids. Like you see pictures, and of course this is an old story now, but like JonBenet Ramsey, right? Like, beauty pageant girl was killed, and then like who did it? Did the parents do it? All this other stuff. You see all the pictures in the news of her like in the beauty pageant. It looks disgusting.
Yeah.
Like all dolled up in makeup, and she's like fucking like 7 years old or whatever. Yeah. No. I would say no. As a society, we need to say like, no, that's not allowed. The child can't consent. Because you can't tell me that they, on one hand, that we can't have certain types of cartoons because they're too impressionable, or advertisements during certain cartoons, or we need to change the rules or drill down on YouTube about child content and monetization and all this other shit, and they can't sell candy flavored cigarettes, and we can't sell grape flavored anything because it appeals to children. Like, you can't simultaneously advocate for that and then like, oh yes, the kids can totally consent to that. The other thing is like either they're dumb and impressionable or they're not. And I would say they're dumb and impressionable, and they should not be able to consent to that. And those shows should be banned. They're fucking sexualizing little kids. It's creepy,
Ladies,
and it's weird.
Ladies and
should be
gentlemen.
banned.
Ladies and gentlemen, the procurator of justice in the new regime has spoken.
Thank you.
Greg.
Thank you. Ban all that shit. It's creepy and weird, and you're pedo if you like that shit.
Oh, you said the word. So let's talk about.
Yeah, I already said the I word to you, so.
Yeah, it's true. Let's talk about federal 3-letter agencies. And look, some of the stuff Mike Lindell said, I don't necessarily agree with. And, let's say, there's a legitimate reason to investigate him. Let's just go on that assumption, right? What about all the other stuff that the FBI could be used for, where there's more than legitimate evidence of investigating, but they don't? So the fact that, yeah, there you go. So you take the limited resources of, let's say, the FBI, and you use them to surround Mike Lindell, to raid a former president of the United States, one of his homes. And you can tell me in that process that the FBI is not being weaponized. And then second, you go out there on social media and you see people cheerleading it because it's somebody that they do not like politically. So put yourself in this situation. If somebody you didn't like politically, and what they did was questionable, and like, gosh, there might be something there, and then they were surrounded by the FBI, would you support that? Or would you want to go after them for legitimate reasons, for reasons that are provable and obvious and evident, without just, oh man, look at this, he might have these documents, or he might have received this information from some cunts in Colorado, or whatever the hell happened? Like, truly ask yourself that. Because I think that's the age we're in now, where certain political factions are using law enforcement, federal law enforcement, to harass their political enemies. And just the fact that you have a limited number of resources to use and what they're being used for, to me, that's all the evidence you need. What do you think of all that, Greg? We haven't really talked about it.
Well, I think like it extends beyond the 3-letter agencies. Like you literally have a prosecutor in the state of New York who ran a campaign on a platform of literally like, we're going to dig until we find something that he did that he did illegal. And here's the great thing about our modern republic and all the wonderful regulations, particularly when it comes to taxes and accounting procedures, is literally everybody breaks the law to some degree when they file their taxes.
Yeah.
It is not possible to follow the law. And some of it is just subjective, and it's just like, well, was that a business expense or was it not a business expense? And like, just on the tax law front of it. But the idea that like you can take somebody and be like, all right, so you got a guy like Mike Lindell, who I don't particularly think is a very smart guy.
I want to try his pillows, though. I seriously do.
I've had in my pillow.
Is it
full
good?
disclosure? I didn't think it was exceptionally better than other pillows in that price range.
Okay.
Like for me, like a pillow can only be so great. Like it's a fucking pillow. You know, like it's one of those things that I think is just
Not
like
in a silk
ridiculous.
body pillow, right?
Right. It's just one of those things that's just ridiculously over-engineered, and it's like, and like the more you put into it, like the less return on investment you get. Like, yes, it's better,
Right.
but like marginally insignificant and certainly not worth the price. That all that being said, like did he call somebody or did he say things that might have been hyperbolic in the heat of the moment during a contested election? Probably. Did that rise to any crime where he was like allegedly like trying to interfere or to like, because what's the angle they're trying to go for now is the Georgia election, right? That they were putting undue pressure on the governor of Georgia to change the results in that particular state. And and it's like, but Mike Lindell is just some jobber who makes pillows, man. Like is he really like could he possibly even be a threat of any significant kind? Even if he said some horrifically hyperbolic, dumb things in the heat of the aftermath of the election, which, I mean, let's be honest, there's a lot of sketch things that still haven't been adequately explained. Just for starters, the pause and restart of the counting itself. Not saying that the elections would have changed, but like I think reasonable people can draw the conclusion that like just kind of doesn't seem up and up. Maybe it was, but like I don't know. There was a lot of question marks. Maybe we should try and answer some of these question marks. And the whole follow-up is like, how dare you even have the question, right? And that was the narrative that was preordained as admitted to by a Time magazine article. How that corporations and media companies colluded to drive a narrative post-election that it was the freest and fairest and blah, blah, blah. And it was a publicized article in Time magazine. So even if he said some sketchy shit, like, is this even worth, like, it's all just we're going to dig until we find something that we can get him on. And the really ironic thing is like all this is designed to prevent the voting public from being able to cast their vote for their preferred candidate in the next presidential election.
Well, that's,
which seems to me like a subversion of democracy. I don't know. Like when there's an active campaign to get a person thrown off the ballot, even though they're the preferred candidate by a humongous chunk of the population. Now, my preference is that he would not run, and let somebody like DeSantis run. Because even if he wins, Trump he's still limited to one more term, and then we're right back to where we were. Like, so my preference would be that he supports, he cheerleads, but doesn't actually run again. So like, I don't want him to run
unless he declares emergency powers. No, but here's the thing. Like, it's not even about let's dig until we find something. It's about we did this. And it was scary for somebody. And hey, if you don't want this to happen to you, then you better behave. It's also that.
Oh yeah, there's absolutely that element too. And that's part of the whole narrative post-election too, was like you can't even bring up to this day like specific questions you might have about the way that the polls were conducted in 2020. You can for 2016.
Yeah.
That's allowed. You can for 2000.
Hill said
you can for 2004. So. By the way, in 2004, like a popular conspiracy is that, because remember in the early 2000s, everything was evil Halliburton, right? Because of Dick Cheney, whose daughter's a cunt. But
yeah, she likes it
really
too. So
he's not particularly a joyous person anyway. But like, not a huge fan of him. But like, remember, like there was news stories and sitting people in government, elected officials, that were claiming that there was a conspiracy about, what was it, Diebold voting machines, I think it was.
Yeah.
And that they were rigged in the 2004 Bush versus Kerry election. Right? So this idea that just questioning an election itself is somehow some subversive act of a threat to democracy or something is just patently absurd. Because it's been done like in the last 20 years several times.
Well, hold on
the other side.
Let's back up, because what about questioning just the integrity of the entire election process and system, where, hey, someone's voting rights might have been violated because you made them get an ID, like, oh no, this and that. So you're telling me that the whole system,
Jim Crow South, right? Biden's favorite line for like a while was the Jim Crow laws, when Georgia passed election reforms that were actually less strict than his home state of Delaware, by the way.
Yeah, so is saying that type of stuff, aren't you like, isn't it an attack on democracy and all that stuff, because you're saying that an election result was not legitimate? I mean, but we're straying off the topic here. Point is,
back to that's the impetus for all this FBI shenanigans and everything. But like, this is not something new. Like, remember, like the IRS itself was weaponized against conservative nonprofits.
Oh yeah. Oh,
remember,
that was
in the Obama administration that had no scandal at all, according to him.
Gosh,
right?
What a piece of
shit.
shit.
Where the IRS was like literally like, backburnering any application for 501c3 organizations that were right-leaning.
I totally remember it. Yep.
Yeah, that was the thing that happened. Well, but now we just hired 80,000 more people for the IRS to do that with. So that's great. The idea that like, yes. Or, like him or hate him, right? Like as soon as Mr. Musk started to not toe the company line, SEC was on his ass. Oh, you can't tweet. You can't do this stuff because it's affecting stock price. You're manipulating your stock, the stock market. So we're going to restrict your Twitter account, and we're going to require that if you tweet anything about your companies, that it's got to go through like some intermediary person to like make sure that, like the memes you put out don't affect the stock market. Didn't happen all them years where he was the darling boy of the left and promoting green energy and all this other stuff. But as soon as he went off the reservation, just a tiny bit, boom, SEC.
Yep.
Like, why do corporations behave the way that they do? Why are corporations woke? Because they know what happens when they're not. I mean, let's talk, like, you want to talk about like manipulation? Okay, FBI. Their little conversation with Facebook about the Hunter Biden laptop story. Like, remember that story that broke and then got buried? Where Zuckerberg was on Rogan. And he alluded to the fact that, like, oh yeah, the FBI, kind of nudge, wink, wink, told us not to run or to bury this story and suppress it. Huh. And when you get into social media and everything, like these are quasi government agencies, because they are acting on at the request and at the behest of the federal government under duress, because if they don't play ball, some nasty legislation is going to come their way that they're not going to like. coercion
Well, you
by
brought
the
up
government to suppress your rights.
you brought up woke corporations. I want to tell a story really quick. So we had a huge win at work. So in our department, we now have a few people that work on diversity just in our department, right? They report to our department, but they work with the overall DI, that's diversity, inclusion, and equity department, right? Well, originally, it's like you have to include, right, some diverse partners in these opportunities. So, okay, we do. We've started doing that about 7 years ago. Well, they hired some new people, and there's this one chick, pronouns and email signature, okay, from the West Coast. I'm not going to say which state, but we hired her. She got into that position, and she tried to like force us to go with a certain partner because of that status. Well, let me tell you this. There was a 35% gap financially between the one we wanted to go with and the one that she was promoting. So, okay, let's go out of our way and give them a third chance. After they did it, it was still like 31% gap. And she's like way down on the totem pole, right? And I wasn't involved in this one, a coworker was, but my boss's boss was in this meeting and she told him, I can't believe you're going to allow us to award this to this company that has had these labor issues in the news. And he looked at her like, say one more word and I'm going to fire you. So we went with the lowest cost and it was over. So let me tell you guys something. If you're in a position where you hire people, do research on them. And if you see stuff like pronoun and bio and all that, don't hire them because you know they're freaking weirdos, toxic, poisonous, weird fucks is what they are. And that's all one word, weird fuck. So anyway, that's another reason to celebrate the end of the week, I should say. And plus, when I walked out today, I got a standing ovation from about 40 people because they were kind of making fun of me because I've been working like 6 to 6, if not later. I left at 4. I'm like, fuck it, I'm leaving. And this one guy's like, Tim's leaving. And all these people were like, yay, it's like, yeah, you want me out of here. That's why. But yeah, great week, busy week, but accomplished week. And then that story that my coworker told me, I'm like, awesome. Victory against wokery. I'll drink to that. And nothing against the supplier that didn't win. It's like, hey, if you had a good price, then you're in. But if you don't, fuck off. I don't care what your status is. We're not gonna
Right. Yeah, we're not gonna pay
subsidize.
35% more because your status is different.
Let me tell you something. Whoever is gonna run for president in 2024, they will get my vote if they will pledge to use executive orders to roll back as much ESG stuff as possible. It's stealth communism. Nothing more, nothing less. And you non-Americans just don't understand it. Like, this stuff came out of nowhere in the early 2000s because Bill Clinton, during his presidency, it was all enacted. And then Obama, using executive orders, expanded it to where companies do not have to adhere to their fiduciary duty to their stockholders. And they get subsidies for doing diverse and inclusive stuff, even if it's not, or even if it is, I should say, detrimental to overall business. So if they do something that, oh man, I'm gonna pick a supplier or customer that will bring my stock price down, but it's okay because I'm going to get this subsidy from the government and I'm not going to be held accountable by the SEC or whatever organization is responsible for managing that type of financial requirement. I'm not going to get dinged by them for making this decision because there's a law that out there that says that I don't have to make sure I'm doing everything possible to make the most profit and get the best stock price and dividends and whatever else to my stockholders. That's what these ESG laws do. And that's why about 20 years ago, you started seeing all this bullshit come out, and it's only gotten worse, especially in the last 5 years. So it's all for a reason. It's not just because somebody at the upper levels of these corporations became woke or became liberal. It's because there's a financial reason for doing so, an artificial financial reason, and we need to roll that shit back.
Yes, I mean that's a large part of it. I think the other part of it is that the right just insists, and despite its support of the Second Amendment, they bring a toothpick to a gunfight.
Yeah.
And that's not just it's not the politicians, it's us, because we won't play these same games. Like, you have a world now where like a petition with like 100 signatures can change the aspect or a part of a Scooby-Doo video game. Right?
Yeah.
And how is that possible? Well, it's because those 100 people will make a lot of noise and make a lot of stink. And the other side just won't. We won't. Like, we'll make a stink here, but like we won't follow through with it. Right? Like, so you have the story like this week, yet another race hoax, and that's the BYU volleyball thing, right? You familiar with that, Tim?
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I heard about it, and I couldn't believe it was real.
It wasn't real. Of course, it wasn't real.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'd have to believe that, like, well, one, they did an investigation. They listened to the audio without the broadcast audio in it. They filtered that out. Like, they couldn't hear anything. Nobody was shouting. Because imagine this, modern age, you're at a women's volleyball game, so there's like 30 people in attendance. But just imagine somebody yelling at a player on the court, calling him the N-word, and nobody reacting. But that's what this volleyball player wanted us to believe, right? And then so you have instantaneously, it becomes a major news story, particularly in sports media, right? And you got your garbage humans on ESPN who are journalists as a group are subhuman trash.
Yes.
Sports journalists are the bottom of that pile of subhuman trash. They're the worst people on earth. But ESPN, Stephen A. Smith's got to run his mouth about this story and how horrific it is.
Oh, but yeah, he's a character, man. That's all he is.
But then when BYU comes out and says, like, yeah, we did an investigation, didn't find anything, he goes back and he's like, yeah, but they didn't call her a liar, though. It's like, yeah.
Don't fall for his gimmick. He's a wrestling heel, and don't be a mark for him, because that's all he is.
Mark, heel, or whatever, like, then it's intentional to aggravate. Like, he shouldn't be on the air. And conservatives should not do business with anybody who does business with ESPN. But we won't do that. We won't engage in those tactics. We won't go to ESPN and be like, hey, we're going to boycott every advertiser that's on his show. But they'll do that for us. They have entire organizations, Media Matters. where they hire people, they pay people to listen to all the conservative radio shows and all the conservative podcasts, hoping to clip out a segment that they can make hay with, right?
Yeah.
So they can run their little boycotts.
It's every sport politicize non-objectively. That's what ESPN stands for.
Yeah.
So it's one of the reasons I got out. Like, I just, look, guys, I played sports. I watched sports. I'm 46 years old. I watched it for 40 years since I was, as young as I can remember. But I just got I was sick of it before 2020 to the point where I hate ESPN. I hate FSN. I hate CBS Sports. I hate them all. Like, I just can't do it anymore.
Garbage.
And then, yeah, and then the everyone turning their profile picture black thing happened, and then you even get, like, in college, even people like, well, why didn't you watch college? Well, you get the Southeastern Conference making the state of Mississippi change their state flag. Fuck you. I'm totally, completely done. And I have never gone back in 2 years and 2 months, June 2020 to 3 months. And I am happier than ever. It's like, wow, I don't have to wake up at 7 a.m. on a Saturday to watch game day. And I don't miss it because I can read more books and watch more movies and spend more time with family. Like,
other than that stuff.
And at the end of the day, it's like, wow, there's some amazing athletic feats and all that stuff. Great. But I don't care anymore. And ESPN was a big part of that. So,
well, if you're talking about like
Disney
modern
and fuck
sports
USPN.
leagues, including the college leagues, they're like the feats that are being accomplished are done after rule changes designed to amp up scoring, because that's more exciting for the TV audience. Like, so like even like the records are like, there's always in my mind, there's always an asterisk. Like basketball, like what a pussy sport it's become versus what it used to be as far as the stuff you could do on defense. But it's not the sport itself. I don't give a shit about volleyball, and I don't really even care about this BYU
except
thing,
those shorts.
Other than like the BYU athlete who was clearly lying, but they didn't come out and say it. Well, they're not going to say it, because what would you, if somebody came out in the media and said, yes, she lied, she's a liar, she's a liar, pants on fire, the immediate response would be like, blaming the victim shaming. This is gonna put a chilling effect on people coming forward. That would have been the story, right? And it guaranteed that would have been the story. But the point is, the point I was trying to make is like, we as conservatives will not play and will not engage in the same tactics that the other side will. And until we do, we will always lose.
Yeah.
You got to stop bringing a toothpick to a gunfight. And I don't mean that literally, because I know YouTube's a very sensitive place, and like, that's not a threat of violence or a call to violence. Even though the senator from Hawaii can say literally and actually use the term like a literal call to violence. She said that today or yesterday. And she didn't say it. She said literally call to violence in response to Roe v. Wade. But she can get away with that. That was okay because she's a Democrat.
Yeah.
But until we engage in likewise behavior, making it completely untenable for any corporation to get involved in any of this shit, they just need to stay neutral because they're going to piss off both sides. And no matter if they weigh in, they're going to get boycott either way, until they know that if they weigh in on any issue, they're going to get a boycott. They're going to continue weighing in on the side of the people who are making the noise. So we have to start engaging in that behavior, or like in the culture war thing. And until we start going like, hey, Disney, notice that ESPN relies on a lot of ad revenue. Sure be a shame if something happened to that.
Wait a minute. So you're telling me that having a like-dislike ratio is not a win? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I'm gonna put it out here for all the people. The ratio on a YouTube video is not going to ever win anything because who the fuck cares?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't tell me that it isn't brigading either for or against when you have those ratios. So like, yes, you can give Rings of Power and Little Mermaid or whatever the fuck everybody's up in arms about, whatever the outrage of the week is, like you can give it a 10 trillion downvotes.
Create some accounts, some sock
It's not going to change a fucking thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other side knows where to hit. They need to threaten advertisers and make them feel uncomfortable about paying money to advertise on a particular program. That's the win. That's the path to victory. The left knows it. We refuse to because we're like, oh, we don't like cancel culture. Well, okay. Enjoy the gulags, bitches.
Yeah.
You can just march right into that gas chamber with your head held high about your principles.
Yep.
Have fun. Breathe deep. But that's just the ultimate result of it. Is like until we behave in that, and until we fight fire with fire, the culture war shit is just a waste of fucking time.
Yep. But hey, to back it up here to the FBI thing, let me ask you a question. Remember the infamous Fed Boy picture?
Yeah.
So, number one, do you think those were really feds or is it just a meme?
I don't know. I think it's very plausible that they actually were feds.
Okay. Well, here's the thing. Like,
but would I say it with any certainty? No.
Let's say they were. So, and this is in my thumbnail. What kind of person would take an order to say, hey, we're going to go raid My Pillow guy because he might have received some documents from some cunt in what is it, Colorado, that may or may not prove that there were election F word, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you say, okay, I'm going to go along with that, right? I'm going to do it. No problem.
Yeah. I'm just following
like
orders.
Yeah, exactly. What kind of person is that? And I've brought this argument up many times over the last 20 years because even though I was political in high school, I remember we had a big campaign at my school to get people to vote for Bush 41 in the election in 92, was it? And then I kind of got out of it. And then after 9/11, I got really back into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would make that comparison, and people like, so you're telling me comparing this on the same level of 1939 Germany guy? No, I'm not. But it's the same principle, right?
Yeah, ultimately, like one atrocity is obviously much worse than the other, but
yes.
the underlying principle is still there.
Yes.
And that is like, at what point do you have a moral obligation to not follow orders that are immoral or are wrong?
Or gosh, I'll take it to a micro level. And think about it this way, like, you're a city cop, right? And you're paid whatever your salary is, and you're out there, I got to pull someone over on the way to work, a hardworking American at 7:00 in the morning because he's going 15 over the speed limit trying to make it to a meeting. That's what I'm doing with my time when there are literally carjackings and rapes and murders going on and all that shit. Like, how do you go into your job and do that and say, I'm just doing my job? Like, what a waste of time. All you are is a revenue generator for the government. So I'll take it to that level too. So any Fed, right, that isn't smart enough to realize that they're being used as a political tool is a worthless human being. Someone who does realize it and they do it anyway is also a worthless human being. I don't respect anyone that works for the FBI or anyone that supports the FBI. And I'm sorry if that pisses anyone off listening, but it's the way it is. I don't care if it's the Postal Service who has an armed division. I don't care if it's the IRS. I don't care if it's the ATF. I don't care if it's the NSA. I don't give a rat's ass. There's immoral stuff being done from my code of ethics. And my code of ethics, again, to go back to what we said earlier in the stream, is what affects personal liberty within reason, i.e., is it hurting someone else? And when you say hurting someone else, is it hurting the overall good state of freedom for individuals? And surrounding someone at Hardee's or whatever the hell it was, Arby's, because they may or may not have done that when there are better people that you can spend your time going after, then no. Fuck anyone involved in that, because they know who the guy was.
The purpose for the manner in which they did it was to signal to be compliant. It was a PR move to encourage, because you could have seized his phone any number of different ways to get the evidence that you needed. They served it in that way to make him an example of what happens when you're non-compliant. As far as I don't respect people based on the agency they work for or the job that they have. I respect them on an individual level. So I won't blanket say I don't respect any FEI agents or anything like that. But I'll boil it down to something that really kind of changed, because as conservatives, typically there's the reflective thin blue line, back the blue kind of mentality, because you want, it's born of the idea of respect for ordered liberty. But the real awakening for me on that politically was police officers who were enforcing lockdowns and harassing the public.
Yep.
That was, for me, that ship sailed when that shit was happening.
Yeah.
When your neighbor Karen would call on you because your kid had a friend over for a sleepover, and then the cops, here's what a good conscious cop would do, be like, oh yeah, we'll look into it, and then never show up. That's be like, oh yeah, we researched it, didn't really find anything that we could act on. Sorry about that. Nothing we can do. Not bang, 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 and be like, we think that, you might have this person over there, and they start giving a lecture about, and there are videos from all over the world, some places obviously worse than others, but there were videos that came out of my state where cops were behaving in an authoritative, power-hungry sort of manner. Don't respect any of those people. There's no line. There's no blue line. If you're one of those fuckers, no respect whatsoever. Sorry. But, you shouldn't be a cop. If the reason that you want to be part of law enforcement is because you like to control people, you're the wrong man for the job.
Yep.
Or wrong woman.
Yeah, you're
let's be honest. In most cases with law enforcement, women probably shouldn't be doing the job because they're just pathetically ineffectual. Did I tell you my story about the fire department when the fire alarms are going off in my building, right? It was really, really annoying. It was a false alarm. There was no fire. They were going off because one of them was one of the sensors was on the fritz or whatever, right? So fire department comes, and it was one of those days where it was 90 some degrees with damn near 100% humidity, right? And there was this And you know, I'm sure she was trying and everything, but like, there was this girl, like, honestly, like, for her to rescue me in a fire, she would have had to like quarter me and like haul me out piece by piece, because like she could barely handle the equipment that was on her, much less like carry or do anything else. And I'm just like, yeah, like it's really great and everything that, yeah, sure, like, you know, women can do anything a man can do, but like this one can't. She was like 4 foot nothing, 100 nothing, and just like could barely maneuver with the weight of the equipment on her. Like she could barely carry the fucking Class K fire extinguisher. Like that's just absurd that she would even be high. Like in the interview process, you just take a look at her and be like, no, you can't do the job. You physically, like, there's no way. Like you being there's gonna, like, somebody's gonna die because you can't do the job, or you're gonna end up killing yourself because you can't do the job.
Yeah.
Which serves nobody. But anyway, that's a side point. Like with law enforcement, that's where the ship sailed with me. The FBI is just,
it's nerd beat up in high school, like using any way to lord their newfound power over someone else. I'm sorry, but that's the way that's the way I see all of them, and I do not like them. So I have no respect for them. I'm sorry. Like, you know, I have to respect you as an individual, but for you to make the decision that, hey, this is my job to work with an organization that does stuff like that, like at all, like, get out of it. There's plenty of jobs open to do something else.
I will say though that like I had to work with them on a frequent basis in my retail job, dealing with apprehensions of, you know, disorderly conduct, theft, or whatever in the stores. And you know, like I was present witness for everything, you know, got the person detained or whatever, and witnessed the whole process. There are some police officers, like, I swear to God, like when the thing was all said and done, I was like, you know what? I have a lot of respect for you, because I would have kicked that fucker's ass.
Yeah.
If you would have talked to me the way, like, I would have beaten that fucker so senseless. Like, like, I would have stomped the life out of him. If he like spit on, like, he spit on you, that fucker would never be able to move his jaw for the rest of his life. I'd get out my baton and I'd crack him so hard in the jaw that it would shatter into 1,000 pieces.
Jeez.
Like, because just the way that they behaved, and I witnessed some, you know, some real treats. Sometimes they were employees; those were the really great ones. That like the fact that they didn't beat him, I was like I admire your ability to be restrained, because there's no way I couldn't have. Like I would have been like, you know, we need to get the witnesses out of the room and find a way for an accident to happen. So in some regards, like I respect some of it, because it certainly is not an easy job. I don't consider them heroes simply because of the title they hold, and that goes for first responders, firemen, nurses, all the people that everybody says is the heroes of the world when they actually didn't do anything heroic yet. It's just based on their job title that they might have to do something heroic at some point once in their career. Like, no, that doesn't make you an automatic hero to me. Sorry. But like I agree with your sentiment though, because like the power trippers that are out there, and like, just because they have a designated level of authority granted to them by the gun that the government is holding to its people, that doesn't like automatically garner respect. But like, here's the way it works now though. Is like, if you criticize, and you know, notice this went very quickly from like it being done in the pop culture game with, you know, people who didn't like a particular movie or you know, or somebody said something on Twitter or whatever, and they got, you know, ratioed or brigaded or whatever. But like now you're seeing it now in the instantaneous thing. Like, okay, like Libs of TikTok exposes, you know, Children's Hospital in Boston for the fact that they were doing, you know, mastectomies cosmetic mastectomies on people under 18. Which, of course, that was exposed, and it caused quite a bit of outrage. It'd be like, this is a children's hospital and it's doing fucking cosmetic mastectomies. Like, we don't think that, a lot of people out there don't think it, like, we should be allowing children to have completely permanent life-altering cosmetic surgeries because their teacher told them that because they like football that they're a boy now. So the instant response to that now is to respond to the natural outrage that occurs when people get exposed for doing something bad, is to instantly and reflectively say, well, now we're getting death threats because you exposed what we were doing. It's your fault now that we're getting these alleged death threats. So that happened with there's alleged bomb threat or whatever there. No arrests made. Nobody couldn't catch him or anything. Maybe because it didn't happen and there was no real threat. But the same thing happened with the FBI, right? People were outraged over the Mar-a-Lago raid. And then suddenly it's like, oh no, you have all these people that are calling in threats to the FBI. And they're like, well, I wonder if there's like, if only there was a law enforcement agency that was available and had the resources to investigate credible threats. Oh, because they're not credible threats, but that's the reflexive thing now, is just claim that you're being attacked now by some rogue jobber. And then when that doesn't work, all you need to do is have some rando on the other side pretend that they're on, create an anonymous account, log into a Twitter or Kiwi Farms or something like that, issue some sort of vague threat as under the guise of being on the other side, to paint that side as being like, see, look at them, they're out of hand, they're a threat. They're a threat to people because, see, this one guy posted, he's never posted anything before, just created this account, but he claims to be a member of this forum, and now look at the thing he said, and that paints the whole forums and everybody involved with it, and everybody who's like-minded is now guilty of this one guy's who came out of nowhere and has no followers, no history or anything. We're all guilty of the thing he said.
Yep.
It's so manufactured and such blatant, obvious bullshit. But they're getting away with it because that's what they do. As soon as the FBI story came out, it was like, oh, now we have people threatening the FBI, and we need to, like, we can't put we can't put these agents' name. We need to redact all their names and all their information because they might be under threat because some guy on the internet said some hyperbolic, vague thing. And you're gonna call it a fucking credible death threat.
Or you can go back to 2009, early 2009, as soon as Barack Obama became president. You'll remember his attorney general, Eric Holder, another piece of human garbage. He sent out a thing, like an alert, whatever the hell you want to call it, to all law enforcement agencies in the country about, hey, there's a threat out there from right-wing extremists. No particular group, no particular individuals, this very vague thing, and that's extremely dangerous. And I had a bumper sticker made, and I never put it on my car, but I almost did, and it was black with white text on it, and it said, pull me over, comma, I'm a right-wing extremist, because it literally said, like, oh, there's a threat of right-wing extremism in all this. So that pretty much gives law enforcement agencies from the municipal all the way up to the federal level, like carte blanche to pretty much, oh, I'm going to pull this person over. I'm going to investigate them. I'm going to raid their house because they may be an extremist. That's Leninist bullshit right there is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's designed again to, like, you'll take that one supposed example, right? And you can go to the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping plot, right? That whole where there were actually like more Fed agents involved than real people.
Yeah.
And encouraging and like pushing them almost to do it. So like it's so blatantly bullshit, but again they get away with it because now. But meanwhile you have on the other side like an actual dude that was gonna like shoot Brett Kavanaugh. You had a Bernie supporter shoot congressmen.
Yep.
At a congressional baseball game.
Yep.
Now we're supposed to believe that a protester getting shot while trying to climb through a window.
Honk honk.
And a guy in a horn helmet and a guy trying to steal a stupid lectern was a bigger threat to democracy than the actual assassination attempt of multiple congressmen.
Wrong party, Greg.
Oh, that's the difference. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Wrong ideology.
Steve Scalise was a Republican, so I guess he deserved to get shot.
That's what
he had it coming. It was like he shouldn't have wore that. It was very provocative. That baseball uniform. Like he had it coming.
You mean kind of like short shorts and a halter top? Too provocative. Yeah, gotcha.
But like it's so amazing, and like I'm so, and it's designed intentionally to frustrate and gaslight us into saying things that they can then just turn around and quote and go, see? And it's like, okay, one guy out of the entire group doing something crazy, like you take any group of people of any substantial size, you're going to have a nut job in there.
Fantastic point from SoCal Trojan 99.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Quite frankly, I got sick of the Gifford coverage. So,
well, remember that was Sarah Palin's fault because she used terminology like target certain campaigns or certain congresswomen or congresspeople. Not literally target, but like the figuratively target. Like anybody with any reasonable brain would be like, she didn't mean literally target them with sights. Like target.
We do not know what synonyms are.
Like target clearly as in focus on defeating.
We don't know what synonyms are. Words.
But that was all Sarah Palin's fault. But like well, it's just like anytime there's these stories and suddenly it's like, oh, the perpetrator is of a certain minority status, then bury the story.
Right.
Like if it leans one way and if it doesn't fit the narrative, the story goes away real damn quick, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, think about the Wisconsin car guy.
Yeah. Say the names, anybody, of any of the victims there. Say their names. Say their names. Bet you can't. I can't.
Hands up, don't run me over. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the FBI. We don't like them.
No.
Really, really quick here. Let's spend a few minutes on these brilliant tactics, I'll call them. Not so much a strategy, but these tactics of fighting back by like, okay, so you're going to allow Florida and Arizona and Texas and California to have illegals bleed in. Well, all right, we'll show you. You're a sanctuary city. Then here are some to take sanctuary with. And then we bust them. So what happened, guys, for those not in the know, what was it, Greg Abbott? He had some illegal immigrants bust up, or was it DeSantis, or both?
So there were two different events that has everybody in a hissy fit, but it's the DeSantis one that really got a lot of attention.
That's what I thought. Yes,
he flew 50 whole illegals.
50,
right? Like, which is the equivalent of 30 seconds of a border town in Texas.
Yeah.
50 of them to Martha's Vineyard, which is the playground of the uber wealthy,
including Barack
including
Hussein Obama.
including Barack Obama.
Mm-hmm.
He sent them up there, and then I think it was Abbott. What he did was he had a busload dropped off in front of the vice president's estate.
Nice.
And now everybody's up in everybody, like the media is just, and the
humanitarian
just
crisis
beside themselves because like, oh, they're I saw comparisons not just on Twitter but like on mainstream news outlets. It'd be like you had pundits out there saying like this was the equivalent of like, you know, putting Jews on a train in 1940s Europe or 1930s Europe. And it's like, no, like, so for the record, like nobody is like forcing these immigrants to get on a bus and be like taken in the dark of night to go somewhere. They're asked like, hey, do you want to go here? And they're like, yeah. And they're told like, it'll be great. They'll have lots of stuff for you there. It's a sanctuary city. Law enforcement won't bother you about your immigration. Would you want to go? And they're like, see, sounds good. And so they go.
Yeah.
Like it's completely voluntary. Nobody is being pushed onto these planes or buses and forced to go to Martha's Vineyard and everything. It's completely voluntary. But yeah, they're trying to say that like this is like the equivalent of what is it? Human trafficking. They were calling like DeSantis and Abbott are guilty of human trafficking. The governor of the fine state of California made a statement saying that like they should be investigated to see if there's any laws are broken because this sounds like it's a human trafficking. Oh, is it? How about when the federal government has been doing it for like the last several years to towns all across America?
Right.
Literally, the federal government is doing the same damn thing. But the states are paying for it by themselves. They're chartering these buses and everything, putting them on there and sending them up. Be like, hey, you want these illegals? You say immigration is our strength, and no human is illegal, and all your slogans, your pro-immigration slogans. But I guess on the bottom of them, of all those slogans and bumper stickers, there was some real fine print that said "Not in my backyard."
Right.
And they're getting absolutely exposed by it. But yeah, they thought they had a winning issue with the public by going, oh, this is human trafficking. It's using people as political fodder. It'd be like the whole immigration problem is exactly political. They're being used as political pawns. Are you fucking kidding me? I think it's brilliant. Yep. I think they should quintuple their efforts and do way more of it. Send them, like, flood these. Like, don't send 500 people to New York. Send 50,000.
Yep.
You want it, you got it. But suddenly your morals and your principles and your humanitarian nature, so like all that goes bye-bye when it's your house they're in front of.
Right.
Huh. Weird. I think it's brilliant. I love it. They should do more of it.
Agreed. Jack of all casuals in the house. Thanks for showing up. And I agree with him. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Yeah, I just laughed when I heard about some of the stories. It's like so great. It's like you're a sanctuary city, so invite these people into your house. They're great people. They can help you learn about other cultures and stuff.
Your house in Martha's Vineyard has like 7 bedrooms, and you're not even occupying it during the winter.
Right.
So, how about you? You can't rent it to them because that would be exploitative. You need to just give them room because housing is
landlords are evil. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And landlords are evil. So you need to just give them access.
Mm-hmm.
I think all the red states should do that with their homeless population too.
Yeah.
Send them all to LA and San Francisco.
Maybe they can make you street tacos because, eating street tacos is like really cool and stuff. And by the way, no one from Mexico or California or anywhere else calls them street tacos except rich white liberals that want to try to be woke and stuff. I mean, geez, Marcia's Vineyard. We get another Vice documentary. I don't know why that's funny. By the way, somebody, have you been on Twitter today? I think it was today I did this. Hold on, let me back up because I really wasn't on there too much. But somebody made a comment. Shit, let me find this. Sorry, guys, Star Wars topic, but Greg's gonna love this. Let's see where I did this. Here it is. So, did you see that picture I posted from the Kitty storybook of Biggs and Luke?
I don't think so.
So there was, the deleted scene. Back when we were kids, you couldn't see that fucking scene. They didn't show it until...
Oh, yeah, you said something you were pissed off that you were in... Yeah, I saw it. I remember.
Yeah, I think it was at Celebration 1 they showed it, and then it wound up on Behind the Magic and stuff. Well, somebody commented, I don't even know who this guy is. How come this wasn't in the movie? You know what my response was, right?
No. Oh, because Marcia... Marcia cut it. That bitch!
Hey, but that was an emotional scene, and I thought she was good at emotion, So,
right,
whatever.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, just kind of an aside there. And I'm almost dreading going back to those EFAPs because she's such just an unbearable see you next time, and so is Anthony Daniels.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Anthony Daniels pisses me off more than anything on those Vice videos.
Oh, just what a piece of garbage. Just absolutely.
I don't know how anybody can watch those and actually come out with a positive impression of Anthony Daniels. Even a fan of C-3PO's the character, you listen to him just be a whiny little bitch, complaining and that's probably the most accurate part of the entire documentary.
He's the friend that you ditch, when you're going to go out on Friday night, right?
Yeah.
That's why, when, in Empire Strikes Back, when they're trying to escape Hoth, he's like, wait for me, wait. They're trying to get away from his ass. So, but there are other ways to fight back other than busing people there. And, people like Greg Abbott and DeSantis have done it. Look what DeSantis did to Disney. That's another way of fighting back, taking away their self-governing status. Oh, fantastic. So great. And you see all these butthurt articles on this is how it will hurt everything. And good.
Yeah, well, then maybe they should have kept their nose out of it then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Fuck them.
That maybe they'll think twice about that, and not try and weigh in on political issues that don't have anything to do with them. It wasn't like the initial bill that they got involved in had anything to do with any of their business operations. It had nothing whatsoever to do with any of that.
Yeah.
And so that they got what's coming to them. The thing I like about DeSantis, and to some degree Abbott, although Abbott has disappointed me on several different occasions, but I like the attitude. I kind of like the no, we're not. You know what? We're not gonna just put the pause button on your crazy ideology. We're gonna roll some of this shit back, and we're gonna start punching back. We're not just going to sit here and take it and be like, hey, elect us to office and we'll just put a 4-year or 2-year pause on their agenda. No, we're going to undo some of this shit. Because it's bad. And just their attitude with it and the fact that they're like, all right, yeah, we're gonna do what we can at the state level. We have a lot of tools at our disposal to fight back against this stuff, so we're gonna do it. In the case of Texas, they're employing some of their own people on the border and stuff like that. So,
yeah. Thanks to Timon for this meme that he found out there. It's fantastic.
Was that the post snurly retweet?
Yeah, yeah. And if people don't know, Bo was Rush's, whatever you want to call him, his studio guy. Yes, he wasn't a
Producer
sidekick.
he was mainly a
Producer,
co-screener,
yeah.
I guess.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
This is like his on-air like duties was.
He's a black man. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whose name is not at all actually Bo Snerdley.
Nope. I used to just laugh when he would say it like, "Yes, Mr. Snerdley." Here's what's great. My son has been going back and listening to like random like Rush shows from the 90s and early 2000s on YouTube, just like while he's driving and working and stuff. I think that's fantastic.
Oh man, he was an entertaining radio personality.
Oh yeah.
Didn't always agree with his takes and everything, but man, he was a pro at radio.
Well, he's in the Hall of Fame,
talent.
so
yeah. Well, I mean, his metrics, like you can't argue with his metrics and his success alone, but just, I mean, talent-wise, like that's the reason why he was successful and everything. And there's a lot of conservative talk radio that I just I can't stand listening to Sean Hannity.
Oh, like Hannity, what a bleh. Yeah.
I just don't like that guy.
Guys, like
happy
you know,
that he
you
votes
gotta
the same
do
way
this
as I do,
and that.
probably.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Well, he's just slightly smarter than Sarah Palin.
Yeah. I never liked Bill O'Reilly's show.
No, I don't like, and I don't like Tucker Carlson. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of Golly G Willikers aw shucks populism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they do too much of that for my taste.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm for the little guy. Like no, you should be for justice.
Yeah.
Not social justice, actual justice.
Mm-hmm.
You should be principled. And it's not about little guy versus, because you know what? If the little guy is doing something wrong and the big guy, the so-called big guys like doing the right thing, it's still the right thing is the right thing is the right thing.
Yeah. I never really liked shit. What's his name? Glenn Beck. I listened to him early on, like really early on, before the TV era, and didn't like him then. Who did I like? I liked Dennis Miller. He was good on his radio show.
Very entertaining. Yep.
Yeah, I liked Jerry Doyle, who was an actor on Babylon 5 and a Republican congressman from California. He passed away. Yeah, he passed away. He had a good show. John Bradshaw Layfield. You know who that is?
Nope.
Wrestler JBL Bradshaw. He had a radio show, and he's on Fox all the time for financial stuff. Him and his wife are really big into stocks and stuff. He had a good conservative radio show. Yeah, there's some good ones out there, but all the main ones I've never really liked, like at all. So
I could listen to Levin for a while.
Yeah, for a while. Yeah.
But then he gets repetitive and like, that's right, I said it.
If I want to laugh,
yeah,
you know who I'd listen to, right?
No.
Ironically laugh. It was Michael Savage. He wasn't trying to be funny, but half the shit he said was just so over the top I'd laugh. Like it was just hilarious. So, and he wasn't trying to be hilarious, but I'd listen to it anyway.
I just didn't. I listened to his show, but yeah, more often than not, I was just shaking my head and be like, "That's just stupid."
Yeah, like
he was
one time
so pompous and so arrogant about like his degrees and his fucking everything. He was the greatest at everything that ever was.
Yeah, one time he talked about I don't like doing sit-ups, with his New York accent. I don't like doing sit-ups, and who says that a washboard stomach is the picture of health? If you look back 3,000 years ago from China, a man standing there with a pot belly was the picture of health and all this stuff. Like, dude, are you really like trying to characterize that as the picture of health because you have a pot belly? Like, come on.
Yeah,
It was just, and he wasn't trying to be funny, but it was funny because he was such a joke. But
Yeah, I didn't really ever take him seriously.
Remember that?
He was more like a
savage.
Yeah. And then
Oh,
like
man.
it was almost like a drum hit when it did it too, or like. But
Yeah.
all the radio shows had to have that. Like Rush had his like doing kind of like.
No, his went. Yeah. And he used the Pretenders music, and yeah.
Mm.
My city was gone. I don't know who Bill McNeil is. Sorry, is that an Australian Blake or?
Yeah, I don't know who that is either.
Don't
I'm
know
more
who
apt
they
to
are.
listen to podcasts these days than talk radio.
Oh yeah, it's all the same anymore, you know.
Well, because talk radio is like it's become like, okay, we're gonna have a discussion broken up into like 90-second segments because we're either gonna go to commercial or the host is gonna read an on-air commercial.
Yeah.
And then it's like we got a break at the bottom and top of every hour for the stupid local news and traffic reports.
Ugh.
And it was like a 3-hour program, but it felt like 90% of it wasn't the program.
Right.
And that's why like podcasts are so much easier. Like a lot of times you can either just skip the ads or you know, there isn't that many of them to begin with. So.
Yeah, good point.
Or they do it at like the beginning, like, you know, if you watch like Shapiro's show or whatever, it's like, yeah, you could skip the first like 60 seconds because it's gonna be about ExpressVPN.
Mm-hmm. Oh, brother. Or Surfshark. I never watched news radio, and I heard like, oh, it's a good one.
That show, I like that show. He was.
Well, I read some weird stuff about it. Like, I'm like, ugh. Like in later seasons, I really don't want to watch that. But I don't know. Maybe someday I'll give it a shot.
It's good, and
But-
you know, Joe Rogan was on that show.
Well, speaking of a show like in radio, I liked Frasier.
Yes,
I thought that was a good show. Yeah.
That was a legitimately funny, well-written show for the most.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it got a little long in the tooth in later seasons.
Well, I only watched the first 5 seasons. I bought them on DVD back in the day remember when everything was coming out on DVD, like literally everything, and it really wasn't on streaming. I bought the first one. I'm like, whoa, that was awesome. And then I went back and bought
and like a season of television, they charge like $80 for.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well, this is when they dropped down to like 20 or 30. So I bought the first 5 seasons, loved it, never finished it. So maybe someday I'll go back and watch it. But
I didn't watch it religiously when it was on, but it was one of those shows where like I catch it on syndication or whatever, and it would suck me in.
Mhm.
'Cause, like I thought it was legitimately funny. I think Kelsey Grammer's like was just the perfect cast for that type of character, or they wrote his character to match the actor's delivery. Like the show worked.
Yeah. And the characters they built
dad
around
was
them.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The brother Niles, and yeah, they were so pretentious or want to be pretentious, and
Well, and the housekeeper, whatever her name was. Yeah.
British accent.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, I really did enjoy that show. I like that. Like, boy, talk about a successful spinoff from Cheers. Jesus, Cheers
Yep.
itself was, of course, a massive hit.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I remember watching the finale, and we talked about it in school the next day, and all that stuff. So, yeah, Daphne.
Yeah, Daphne. And
Mhm.
by the way, these shows, like
Hot.
in their heyday, would get ratings that would, like, if a streaming service got that kind of viewership on an episode, they would be beside themselves ecstatic. Like,
Mhm.
back in the 80s, to be like the number one TV, like to be in the tops for like a TV sitcom, it was like you needed 20+ million viewers.
Mhm. That's a good chunk of America right there, buddy.
Insane, because cable wasn't in every household at that point. There obviously was no streaming or anything like that. VHSs and the ability to record, like, it just wasn't there. Like TV was event driven. Like, it was like when certain shows came on, that was like the event that everybody watched.
Yep.
I mean, it was kind of nice because at the time, and this is the argument, versus, streaming versus binging, or binging versus, like, week by week, is like when you create event television, you create community.
Yeah.
Because it's a shared experience that everybody's watching at the same time, at the same pace.
Well, yeah, I remember had a friend, and he had a little kid, and the kid's like, "Hey, we got to go home." It's like, well, why? Because, Star Wars is coming on at 8:00, and he's like, buddy, you have that on DVD or tape or whatever, and he's like, yeah, but everyone's watching it at that time, and you can kind of feel it in the air. And this kid's only like 8 years old, and he said that, and it's
true.
It's kind of true. Yeah. It's kind of like you can sense the presence of other people watching it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what made it. I mean, that's what made shows what they were then. I mean, they weren't so disposable.
Probably the biggest one recently was Game of Thrones, and it's not something I was into, but that's when I remember people talking about and having watch parties and all kinds of shit.
Yeah, that was a Sunday night event thing. People would actually like you had to watch it when it came out because everybody was going to talk about the episode the next day.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the last event show that I can think of.
Yeah.
And other than like, a season premiere, but like these stupid streaming services dropping TV shows at like fucking 2:00 in the morning for their by far their largest audience. Yes, I understand there's other time zones in the world, but like when 80% of your audience is in North America, like, why are you debuting a show at 2:00 in the morning?
Right.
And it's like the answer is simple, is because you own a network television station that you don't want to compete with.
Right. I got a question for Blake. It's interesting how these Australians know all these American shows, and we know some British shows, but what are some Australian shows that we would have heard of, or is there anything like worth watching? Because we get a lot of BBC stuff here and whatever, like on BBC
Steve
America. Well, I'm not into that kind of stuff, but I mean, like sitcoms and dramas, we don't get that shit here, and I know they exist because our friend Rhino's told us about them and stuff. But like, what is a show that's like, wow, this is a great show, no matter where you're from, and you don't have to like have special knowledge to understand the humor or drama? That's what I'd be interested in knowing. Yeah.
I don't know if the rest of the world is really keen on Australia's unique sense of humor. No offense, Australians.
Yeah. Children and the elderly.
Children and the elderly. Okay.
Well, there you go. No wonder you're watching American shit.
So it's like it's SpongeBob or Matlock, huh?
or Quincy MD, Oh man. So the last topic was I don't want to call it student debt forgiveness because it wasn't. It was a bailout. It was redistribution. And there's so much to talk about on that. Number one, it's wrong. When you go out there and say, hey, I need $100,000 so I can go get an art degree. And then you say, oh man, I can't afford this. Can someone else pay it? Yeah, the government can. No, it's not the government. The government doesn't make money. The government doesn't have money. It's taxpayers, other people subsidizing your stupid ass fucking decision to go get an art degree on finger or toe painting using poisonous clay to make like some kind of abstract picture. No, that's that's not a good decision, and it's communism. It's redistribution of someone's money that they earned so that you can not have to owe what you need to owe. But here's one of the biggest, I'll let you talk about this, but one of the biggest things about it that I find hilarious is that this quote unquote forgiveness is taxable income. I'll let you talk about it though.
Is it though, or are they gonna write that off somehow?
Not that I've heard.
It absolutely should be at the highest tax bracket.
Yep.
It's like I don't care if it's just 10 grand. It should be 10 grand taxed at the highest income bracket. Which is like which is amusing to me, but then also like how stupid, because like you have the government basically doling out money, but then taking some of it back. It's like making like Social Security like taxable income. Like just hand them less in the first place. Like why create the extra work? It's regarding like the actual all redistribution is immoral and wrong and theft. All of it. This is just yet another one. Like, so like I get people's frustration with it and like the outrage around it, because the idea that like, because we know the type of people, we probably know several of them in our personal lives that are going to get this bailout, and you're just like, fuck, they getting anything. Like, they're the most insufferable fucks. They're the first ones to remind you that they have a degree in something that's worthless and be like, I'm educated. Well, you're so stupid.
Yeah.
Like for all that education, like you don't know a goddamn thing, or like you don't have any, you got no common sense. So there's that injustice of it. There's the injustice that the college system that has extorted, exploited, and ripped off generations of Americans basically walks away scot-free.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first thing I would do is like, all right, we're going to do this. The first thing we are doing is like, all right, like you want the $10,000 off your student loan. What college did you go to? All right, you went to this college. Oh, they have an endowment. It's coming out of that.
Yep.
If the college has an endowment of any size, regardless of what it's for or anything, that money should come out of them. The first people that should pay are the fucking college institutions that are ripping people off in the first place. Because let's be real clear. College is a fucking ripoff. There are degrees, and Tim mentioned painting with poisonous clay.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not sure if I'm familiar with it, but I mean, there are actual like courses on like Beyonce and shit that colleges offer.
Yeah.
Like, first and foremost, those classes should be banned from all publicly funded college campuses. Like, if Harvard still wants to have a Beyonce class, I guess Harvard can because it's a private school, right?
Right.
But I'm sorry, like, you can't get a Pell Grant now to go to Harvard because that's a private school and Pell Grant's public money. Sorry. Oh, you can't get a government student loan to go to Harvard because it's a private school. So, like, you want to play that game, then no public financial support should go to kids going to private schools. I mean, if we're going to say then, you know, we also can't touch them or regulate them in any sort of way. But like, look at the college courses they're offering, and just like, you can eliminate probably at least a third of the fucking staff by just cutting all the garbage class. It'd be like, this isn't even part of like a vague liberal arts degree. This is just garbage. You're literally just wasting time taking these classes, and you're wasting money. So no, we're not going to fund it at the state level. We're not going to subsidize it at the federal level. We're just going to get rid of these classes because they serve no public interest whatsoever. But no reform is being done at the in fact, this forgiveness program actually exacerbates the problem. Because now it's like the immigration issue, right? you start granting amnesty and waivers and things like that, you create an incentive to be the next batch that's going to get the next exemption.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're a student and you're like, wow, boy, that's a lot of debt. I don't know if I should. Well, Congress will the president can just sign an executive order. By the way, using the logic that under a statute regarding emergencies, that the president has the power to do this, and he's simultaneously using COVID as the reason to do it, but then also arguing in the courts to undo the immigration portion of it because COVID's over.
Yeah.
So you have the same administration arguing COVID's an emergency, COVID's over. Like, just
Which
on its
is it?
face,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. But it is unjust. It is not right. But I'm going to say that, like, there are a lot of aspects, and this is, like, I'm sorry, it might be the slippery slope fallacy, but, like, when the slope exists and you're sliding down it at 90 miles an hour, you might need, at some point you got to acknowledge that the slope exists. And that is we've created a government system that does this on all sorts of levels. Do you know that, like, in most states, like, if you're a poor person who makes a bad decision to start a family with and fuck men that have no futures and no jobs and no ability to support their kids, even if they wanted to, which they don't, like, you get knocked up by one of those motherfuckers, guess what? Free daycare. Oh, we need to make sure you have the ability to work, so we're going to give you free daycare.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like handing like $5,000 to $10,000 a year to these whores.
Right.
I like, both are wrong, but, like, when it comes to, like, just absolute, like, anger about it, like, the only difference with this to me is just that the colleges get off scot-free.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't abide that. You look at these colleges, what they're doing, and the fact that, like, no other company on earth could get away with this level of false advertising and outright fraud.
That's what it is.
That they commit, and they've been committing for generations. And like, where does all this shit, like, and leftism come from? Like, where does it originate? The college campuses. Like,
Right.
there's also that part of it. So it angers me. It's not just. It's not right. I don't think. And by the way, it's targeted to people that, like, probably need the relief the least. These are people, by the way, that have gotten to not pay off any of their loans for, like, the last 2 years too, by the way. The pause on paying back your loan is still in place now until January of next year.
Yeah.
So not only have they not had to pay, they're not going to have to pay this $10,000 or $20,000 if they got a Pell Grant. I don't understand why they get extra money. But whatever. They've also, like, not had to pay any of their loans. Like, did your car loan get paused during COVID? Mine didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Did my credit card bill get paused during COVID?
No.
Do I not have to pay any of my credit card bills until January?
I had to work
next
harder,
year?
man.
No, mine didn't. But their student loans did, though.
I had to work harder, like I said.
Yeah.
So
A lot of people did. A lot of people did.
Some people disappeared from the workplace, and someone else like me had to pick up the slack. So
I disappeared from the workplace, but I'm on no government assistance of any kind. Didn't collect a,
Good for you.
Didn't collect a second of unemployment during any of the pandemic.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
To
And
this day.
anyone you know, guys, my advice would be to shame them, but it's up to you. But if you know anyone that did it, say, I can't believe you took loans out and aren't going to pay them. You know, if you're a Christian and you believe in the Bible, then that's a sin, being indebted to someone. It's just not good. So, and if you're a free market economist, then it's not good either, because you took money from somebody else. That's what's happening. It's not government money. It's eventually taxpayer money. If we took all the deficit, and it's some right now, the quote unquote national debt, that's all money that eventually is going to have to get paid back by taxpayers. And it's not the people, to Greg's point earlier, paying that get a refund when they haven't even paid anything in.
Here's how I'd raise the money. Like, if we're gonna
Go.
do this is what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
I would institute a 5 to 25% employer paid payroll tax to any employee who has a college degree. Disincentivize employers from creeping up unnecessarily their entry-level requirements for job positions. Mm-hmm. The amount of jobs out there that actually, like, a college degree is useful for is nothing in comparison to how many of them require it. Just because I went to college, so everybody I hire should have gone to college too. This like, so you want to fix the college situation? Like, you need to stop requiring, and this is on employers, and employers need to be incentivized, sometimes with the negative whip of government, I guess. They need to be disincentivized from requiring unnecessary degrees in the first place. And you know what? If you're like, it's not good enough to just shame people if they took this bailout, or they got this bailout. You need to never hire them. Oh, you have a college degree? That's nice. Thank you. Next.
Yeah.
Discriminate against college educated candidates. Especially if they're under 30. Never hire a college graduate under 30.
Oh,
ever,
get this.
for anything other than entry level.
So today, I heard my boss weirdly interviewing someone along with another panelist openly, and not in a room, at her desk. And the person was 7 minutes late to the interview. For me, like, interview over. Never ever apply for this company.
I've done that. I've done that. Not been late. Not been late, but just like somebody showed up late.
Mm-hmm.
And it was ridiculously, like, I don't even know if it was 7 minutes. It was beyond that. I was just like, oh, sorry. Position's filled.
Yeah.
And then they act all incredulous, like I wasted my time coming here. Like, I wasted my time waiting for you. And you're unemployed and I'm not. My time's worth more than yours.
Right. Anyway. That's, we're beating a dead horse here. It's wrong. Don't take out shit that you can't pay for. And that includes houses and 2009 and everything else. So, gosh, guys, we've been going 3 hours and 9 minutes.
Dang. So
we're going to wrap it up. But trust me, in the future, hopefully in the near future, we're going to be doing this a lot more often, because this has been an enjoyable stream, and we can get different types of people on here and just talk a bunch of shit and stuff. So tell a friend if you enjoyed it. I think we have pretty based and pretty even political takes. And I hear birds squawking in the background at Greg's location. I'm just kidding. So yeah, guys, thanks for being here. you're not doing anything else you need to promote, are you?
No, I'll leave with one final thing, and you know,
Yes,
it might be a
fire
little bit
away.
political, but like the only good goose is a dead one.
Then you can get
Like
goose
you had
grease,
your platform
saving you a
where
trip
like
to the
you'll vote
store.
for you'll vote for anybody. I forget what it was that I forget the policy. My policy, I'll vote for any candidate that will that allows for the eradication of 98% of the worldwide Canadian goose population.
Nice. I like it a lot. Yeah, it was fun, Corey, and it is late. It's 1:00 in the morning where I live and where Greg lives. So thanks for doing this, guys. We don't know what the hell's going on next week. We'll figure it out. But thanks for being here and sticking with us. We had a pretty damn good crowd, and I'm happy with it. And let's help grow the channel. Let's go to 100 subs and 200 and 500, and let's get this one monetized too. And thanks, Blake, for being here. And unless you're a geese, yeah. Thanks for modding and all that stuff, guys. We'll see you soon. We'll keep you updated, and I guess have a good fucking night. See you later.
Your game is through, 'cause now you have to answer to America. Fuck yeah, so lick my blood and suck on my bone. America, fuck yeah, what you gonna do when we come for you now?
Is that legal?
I will make it legal.
Where do you get this bureaucratic bull?
You have all the character references of a politician.
Intelligence has nothing to do with politics.
This president is not above the law.
If the dirty air don't get you, the politicians will.
The last remnants of the old republic have been swept away.
These orders have forced us to declare independence.
All